Most likely small. All right, welcome back. The board is reconvening from closed session. Sorry that it took us a while at 7:02. We will be going back after today's to reconvene and to continue our conversations. With that being said, we will go ahead with our Indigenous land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the land currently occupied by Washington Unified School Districts as the traditional home of the Patwin people. These sovereign people have been caretakers of the area since time immemorial, and despite centuries of genocide and occupation, the Patwin people continue as vibrant and resilient federally recognized and unrecognized tribes, bands, and rancherias. Today, we honor and recognize our Patwin tribal neighbors for their contributions as the caretakers of the Sacramento Valley and honor their sustained existence. With their blessing and continued guidance, Washington Unified School District seeks to provide an accessible, equitable, and supportive institution of learning and experience. And now I would like us to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and will Miss Holly Valine please lead us? Wherever you want.
I'm loud enough here.
That's right.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And so, as I said, we will be going back into closed session afterwards. So, So I will announce those later on this evening. So I have approval of the agenda. Do I have anybody having changes?
I move.
Moved by Trustee Wong. Second by Vice President Pizzotti. All in favor?
Aye.
And I too say aye. All righty, and now moving on to our communications and celebration. We will start with recognition of the 2024 Yolo County Excellence in Education Award recipients. Ms. Shay Borge. Oh.
Good evening, President Coffey, trustees, Dr. Hildreth, community. Every year we recognize our staff for their outstanding performance and contributions to our schools and community. In addition to district celebration, Yolo County Office of Education acknowledges both individual and program excellence across the 5 districts within the county. Tonight we would like to celebrate the staff recognized by YCOE. This year, YCOE named 8 WSD classified staff as Yolo County Classified Employees of the Year, which means out of all the Yolo County districts, 8 of the WSD employees were recognized as the best. This is particularly special honor for WSD, as there is only 10 staff recognized countywide as Employee of the Year, and WSD had 8 of those. At this time, I would like to call to the podium some of the recipients of the YCOE Employee of the Year to be celebrated and receive the following items. A certificate of special congressional recognition signed by Doris Matsui. Certificate of excellence signed by the president of the Yolo County School Boards Association. A California State Legislature certificate of recognition. And finally, a student-produced award to celebrate this great accomplishment. First up, I would like to call up to be recognized as Marta Diaz, a custodian here in our district at Riverbank Elementary. Yeah, stay there. Don't go anywhere. If I call you, don't leave. Next up, Ms. Holly Valine, who is a paraeducator specialist librarian at Stonegate Elementary. Holly joined me and President Coffey and Clerk Kirby Gonzalez at the recognition, so she has actually received her certificates. I'm throwing Mario for a loop. I apologize. I know.
You had me over here like.
She got hers already.
All right. Next up, I would like to call up is Sarah Drury, our Administrative Secretary 3 in our Education Service Department. Next, Joanne Martinez, bus driver in our Maintenance and Operation and Transportation Department. And last, Gabriel Mendoza, our equipment mechanic from Maintenance, Operation, and Transportation Department. You're not allowed to leave yet. Next, I would like to call up Nicole Wilson, who was celebrated by YCOE as a salute to educators for her excellence in education. Nicole Wilson is a second grade teacher at Riverbank. A final round of applause for all of our YCOE Excellence in Education honorees. Want a picture?
Yes, please.
I knew that they were going to want a picture.
Yeah, you too. You're part of the board.
Oh, I don't need to be in the way.
Yorgos, we're just going to get the back of you on this.
I'll step out as soon as they line up. No, it's okay. Okay. All right, everyone look at me and on 3. 1, 2, 3. And everybody else, free for all.
Put it a little bit faster because these things. Pretty much a snuggie.
So I would like to add that I had some amazing words for all of you that day, and some of them were so hard to pronounce, but I did it. Ms. Wilson, for you.
A long narrative on everyone.
Yes. And now we are going to go ahead and move on to our recognition of National School Psychology Week, November 11th through 15th of 2024. Yorgos.
Well, good evening, President Coffey, trustees, and members of our audience this evening. I stand before you for, as you just explained, to recognize National School Psychology Week, which is recognized this week, the 11th through the 15th of November. WUSD proudly celebrates this week each year. This year's theme is called Spark Discovery. It highlights the crucial role that school psychologists play in helping students, families, and educators explore new ideas, effect positive change, and expect horizons for children and youth in our community. WUSD is fortunate to have a dedicated team of 10 full-time school psychologists who work tirelessly to support our students' academic, social, and emotional well-being. Their expertise in assessment, intervention, and counseling is invaluable in creating a positive and inclusive learning environment that fosters discovery and growth for all of our community. The board earlier this year also adopted resolution number 2425-30 in recognition of this week. And normally we like to have the entire team, but as you know, it's a school day, it's a work day. We were able to have one of our dedicated school psychologists join us this evening, so I do want to invite her to the podium. Her name is Elizabeth Alexander. If you don't... So she is here in force, representing her entire team. I did promise her that she doesn't have to speak tonight if she doesn't want to, but we do want to take the opportunity to recognize her for all of her dedicated efforts, not just this week, but throughout every week of the school year and beyond, and the rest of the team as well for everything they do to make sure that our schools are successful every single day. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. On that note, we will do a photo op with the school board.
All right.
On three. 1, 2.
I'm just flicking.
All righty, and now we are going to go ahead and move on to our celebration of lights on after-school and press conference with Assembly Member Cecilia Aguilar Curry. Ryan. I was like, with, and I go, wait, also known as Ryan.
Sorry about that. I was playing with this. Good evening, Board President Coffey, Board Vice President Pizzotti, Clerk Kirby Gonzalez, and Trustees Wong and Venegas, and Dr. Hildreth. I am honored to come back and talk again about the expanded learning programs with Washington Unified School District and to celebrate our programs as we were recognized by the Partnership for Children and Youth, the California After School Advocacy and Alliance, and Assembly Member Cecilia Aguilar Curry during the 25th anniversary of the National Lights on After School celebration. We were one of 3 school districts within the state of California that were highlighted, one in Southern California, one in Central California, and we were highlighted for Northern California. And with that, we were actually honored to actually have the Assembly member hold a press conference at Westfield Village on October 23rd. Again, we are fortunate and humbled to be recognized as the front runner for innovation and implementation of our expanded learning programs in Washington Unified School District. So this is going to be kind of a review and celebration of that press conference, a little bit about a Partnership for Children and Youth, and a little bit about the Lights on After School celebration. So this is in alignment to our strategic plan. Again, our goals is for success in early years. We do the whole child support, opportunity and achievement for every student. We focus on Pillar A for equity-focused teaching and learning, and we do hit all 4 of the equity principles for Washington Unified School District. This is the Pillar A, so again, just highlighting what we're focused on in Pillar A. And so we will move on to going about the After School Alliance. So the After School Alliance offers support for quality after-school programs, works with agencies, elected officials, businesses, the 50 state after-school networks, community leaders, and program providers across the nation. They are in touch with more than 25,000 after-school program partners, and their publications reach more than 65,000 individuals every month. Their main areas of work include research and publications. They produce the America After 3 p.m. report, which is a comprehensive data available for young people to spend time after school hours. They focus on policy and advocacy. They do lots of communication, so they generate thousands of stories on after school every year, reaching tens of millions of people while also growing and maintaining an active online presence. And they also do field building where they provide resources on all topics above to the 25,000 after school programs, and as well as technical assistance to the 50 state after school networks. The Partnership for Children and Youth, which is the organization which did help select our district. They believe that all children need opportunities to learn beyond the school day and year to build skills and relationships, expand their horizons, access social capital, and discover their passions. PCY improves learning opportunities and conditions for youth by increasing access and quality of expanded learning programs in California through a strategic mix of policy, advocacy, and capacity building. They were key in the implementation of the 2006 After School Measure Prop 49 to the $4 billion investment in the Expanded Learning Program in 2022. Their policy and practice experts work both in the field and in the state capitol to incubate new ideas, build capacity in coalitions, and change systems. So part of the stuff that they also do is that, this is from their website, is that roughly they said that kids spend 80% of their waking hours outside of the traditional classrooms. By the time they reach 6th grade, upper and middle class students have had 6,000 more hours of learning and enrichment than kids born into poverty. Of those 6,000 hours, over 4,000 are spent in after-school and summer programs. They also show that high-quality expanded learning programs after school and during summer are proven to increase school attendance, grades, and social and emotional wellness. And for every child in an after-school program, 3 more are waiting to get in. So this is just facts that are from their website. And so they chose us because we've hit on all 4 of these main areas of concern for them. So this is kind of where we come in as a district to come and support. So when I was hired as the coordinator of expanded learning programs in November 22, we were serving 5 after-school sites at Elkhorn Village, Riverbank, Stonegate, Westfield Village, and Westmore Oaks, with the average daily attendance of 436 kids a day. The following year, when we got the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program grant money, we were able to go from 5 after-school sites to 7 expanded learning sites, which includes before-school programming, after-school program, and intersession programming. So we included Bridgeway Island and Southport. And from 22-23 to 23-24, our average daily attendance more than doubled to 928 students a day. And in the summer of 23 was our first summer program, where we ran 4 sites where we averaged 494 students a day during the summer. And this current school year, this is through October, our average daily attendance is now up to over 1,200 students daily for expanded learning programs. And in the summer of 24, we were serving 5 sites in the summer, and we're averaging 564 students daily. This was part of what Partnership for Children and Youth and CA3 saw that we were doing, and not including the fact that we are working with the City of West Sacramento to run 5 of the sites, Champions, the YMCA, and our 15 outside vendors to provide theater, dance, social emotional learning, fitness, Spanish lessons, soccer, fencing, environmentalism, and a whole other array of opportunities that students will have because of the programs that we are offering. So on October 23rd, 2024, the California After School Advocacy Alliance, also known as CA3, they planned several statewide events connected to the Lights on After School celebration with the goal to build public awareness support for the expanded learning programs. So like I said, because of the work that we were done, we were selected to host a press conference with Assembly Member Cecilia Aguiar-Curry over at Westfield Village, where they were able to have several city council members, board members showed up, community members showed up. We also had a dance performance by one of the students that were led by one of our enrichment providers. And this next slide is going to be the Assembly member speaking about her own experiences and the importance of the funding.
Across the state. Our historic $4 billion investment is our commitment to every child and family in California to ensure they have access to a high-quality environment after the school bell rings. So for many parents, especially working families, finding affordable, reliable childcare is a constant struggle. I know that. I was a single mother and I always was trying to balance what neighbor or what grandparent might be able to help my children, but not everybody has that opportunity.
Yeah, so that was similar. Aguiar-Curry talking about her own experience as a mother relying on after-school programming and the importance of the funding for families to have that for their own success. She's also going to be the leader of the Women's Caucus the next year, so she's also a big advocate and will continue to push for funding and knowledge of expanded learning programs. This slide just shows a few of the images from that press conference. Again, we had students in the first grade perform a dance through our dance physique enrichment. Jessica Gunderson with Partnership for Children and Youth spoke. Assembly member Aguiar-Curry. Andrea Lara, the site leader for Westwood Village, also spoke about her experience not only being a student in the after-school programs, and becoming a volunteer and becoming an after-school instructor to now becoming a site leader at Westfield Village. Jenna Shaw, who was our dance physique instructor, spoke. Dante Early, who is the City of West Sacramento Vice Mayor, spoke as her position as a city official and also as a parent who has her students enrolled in our programs as well over at Elkhorn Village. Board Vice President Colby Pizzotti and Trustee Jackie Wong also both spoke at the event. During this event, the City of West Sacramento and Washington School District were both given recognition from the Assembly Member's Office both were presented with a certificate of recognition from the California State Legislature. So I did borrow this from the district. I will return it tomorrow. But yes, we were again recognized here, and I did notice that the City of West Sacs recognition is actually just outside in their display window as well. And this next slide is just a compilation video put together by the production company of kind of summarizing, even though it was like an hour-long event, they had to condense everything down into a quick 1-minute video. So it's short and to the point.
Sweet.
I want to thank you for your partnership.
Our city is that we put our families first. After school, I would like to introduce myself real quick. My name is Linda Lena, and I am the second year here at Westfield Kids Home.
And that is really what makes these programs so unique, something new that could potentially be a lifelong passion for them. That's how the arts is for me. I just thank you all for attending. I thank you for the work that you do every day. I think we're all demonstrated we're committed to this program, we're committed to this funding, and committed, most importantly, to the students and families we serve. So have a great day.
So again, the press conference was an hour. They were able to condense everything down to a minute, which does, again, the press conference aligned with the Lights on After School. So Lights on After School was launched in October 2000 by the After School Alliance. It is the only nationwide event celebrating after-school programs and their important role in the lives of children, families, and communities. The effort has become a hallmark of the after-school movement and generates thousands of media clippings each year. 1 million people in every corner of the country are joined to show their support for after-school programs that keep kids safe, inspire them to learn, and give working families peace of mind that their children are safe, supervised, and learning after school. Events took place at school sites, local 4-H's, Boys and Girls Clubs, YMCA's, parks, museums, community centers, and various other places. This year, they actually had Usher as an honorary chair of the Lights on After School celebrations. And every year they do a light bulb challenge. So these are our first and second grade students with members of the community doing the light bulb challenge. They always post stuff on social media just to make the awareness through there. And this slide just represents some of the celebrations that took place at the school site. So they had kids color their own light bulbs, staff color their light bulbs, middle school kids doing a light bulb challenge I believe it's at Riverbank. I think our kindergarten classroom is on the rug. There's the light bulb display that was set outside of Bridgeway Island. Champions also created their own kind of banner that was hung outside of the school site the night before. So students, families, and teachers all saw that as they came into school the day of the Lights on After School event. Another thing that they do is from New York's Niagara Falls to Hawaii's Aloha Tower, landmarks are lit up for the Lights on After School. So bridges and buildings, capitals and courthouses, and other landmarks were lit up in blue and yellow, which are the colors for Lights on After School for the 25th annual. This is a picture of the Empire State Building in New York. And most notably, I'd also like to mention that there was one more building that was lit up this year for Lights on After School, and it was our own district office. So
Super fancy.
we kind of took over and displayed the support for after-school programs at night. It was I got a couple of weird looks at night when I was trying to light up the district office. They're like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it." So again, we did show our support by highlighting the front thing in blue and yellow for the night, just to show that, again, WUSD is supporting the after-school programs and celebrating the Lights on After School on the day of. Again, I'd like to thank you. None of this work could have been done without the department. We have Director Guerra here, who isn't here, is Patricia Quijada, who's our administrative secretary, helps keep us organized, tracks everything, puts us on our schedule. Maricela Oropeza, who's our family support specialist for preschool, but also helps out and lends a hand in the department as needed. So none of the work could be done without the entire team going to support our programs and our programs wouldn't exist without our providers. Many of them are actually across the street right now doing an art show for the city of West Sacramento, which coincided. But again, there's lots of people that come in. We do have over 100 staff members that staff the after-school sites across the 7 school districts. And again, I just want to say thank you to the board, to the district for continuing the support of the after-school programs, and that we continue to help to see them grow in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Love the after-school program. All right, and now moving on to our association reports. First up, we have our student board member report, Alexa Jimenez. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, everybody. To start off this student board member report, we have Bridgeway Island. Bridgeway Island just had their career week 2024, and it was a success. Their leadership collected 2,238 pairs of socks for Socktober. Third graders decorated sugar skull cookies thanks to Peter Brown and his student chefs from the RCHS culinary program, Dia de los Muertos. Bridgeway Island also had their football and volleyball teams win the championships. Moving forward, we have Riverbank. Riverbank had their Unity Days for 4th and 5th, and through 6th through 8th were a big success. It's not scary to be kind door decorating contests going on now. Dia de los Muertos celebration on November 1st. Boys empowerment workshops this week. Elkhorn Village School. Elkhorn had their fall festival, and it was a huge success with students and families having fun. Dia de los Muertos ofrendas were displayed in the cafeteria. DI Kinder applications for next school year are now available. We have Southport School. Southport had 1,683 socks donated in Socktober for the Westside community. Food drive from November 4th through November 8th. Their middle school volleyball and flag football team advanced to the championship game. Stonegate School. To celebrate Dia de los Muertos, Stonegate students created a large ofrenda with handmade items added to it, including prop candles, faux pan de muerto, and paper picado banners. Students were also able to decorate sugar skull cookies. On November 8th, from 5:30 to 7:30, Stonegate will be hosting their 2nd annual Heritage Night to celebrate diversity in their school community. Leadership students are working on modeling kindness and focused on improving school culture. Students get to take a picture, being the I in kind, in addition to a variety of other interactive activities. Westmore Oaks School. Westmore Oaks had their Trunk or Treat event, and it was a success. Thank you to the PTSA teachers and families for making this event go smoothly and bringing so many WMO families to campus to join the fun. Now we have Westfield Village School. They had a very eventful week at Westfield, including Red Ribbon Week, PBIS Costume Parade, Dia de los Muertos, and Multicultural Fall Festival. Washington Unified Virtual Academy. They had 100% of their K-5 students complete their Common Math assessments. They also had 7 new students join WUVA in the last 3 weeks, 2 kindergarten students and 5 middle school students. Their WUVA students are rock stars at iReady personalized instruction, averaging more than 7 hours in reading lessons and more than 8 hours in math since August, which is about 40 to 45 minutes per week. Washington Adult School. Washington Adult School participated in the Fall Festival at Elkhorn to showcase its educational programs, including ESL, Citizenship Preparation, GAD Prep, and the High School Diploma Program. Staff members provided information on how each program supports adult learners in building language skills, preparing for U.S. citizenship, earning a GAD, and completing a high school diploma. Moving forward, we have Yolo High School. Their students and staff participated last Friday on the celebration of Dia de los Muertos. Friday was a significant day at Yolo, as students were acknowledged by their teachers for putting forth their best efforts to improve academically. We have River City High School. River City wants to give a shout out to our student leadership and MECHA for decorating their H building for Dia de los Muertos. The student-created ofrendas and artwork were amazing. Congratulations to their boys and girls water polo teams, who both competed this season as league champions. Lastly, at Washington Middle College High School, students participate in hands-on science activities, group collaboration, and teamwork. Students feel valued and capable. Thank you.
Thank you. So if you'd like, you are welcome to stay and to participate in the conversations, as well as take a vote if you would like. However, we understand that most students typically say they did their duty and no longer wish to participate. But you're more than welcome to stay. There's no obligation.
I think I'll take my leave.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Next time.
Bye. We'll see you next time. And now on to our WSTA report. President Knapp.
Good evening, Superintendent Hildreth, Cabinet, President Virginia, President Coffey, Vice President. Sorry, I'm messing this up every single time. Kobe Pizzotti, Clerk Kirby Gonzalez. Could you not have as many K's in your names? Helpful.
Mine says a C.
Mine's a C.
Well,
W.
sorry, the
very
K
different.
phoneme. Let me bring my first grade teacher in here.
There's no cut in mine. Oh, good.
Kwong. Doesn't work. All right. So let me first off say it's good to see you tonight. I'm glad the political season is over and that we're moving on and getting ready to do good work together. I'd like to remind the board and the cabinet of promises that were made in September in regards to reaching out to community members to start to do the robust work needed to join with law enforcement and look at an SRO. We're still waiting to see that so that our community can have a voice in this process and it's not just being looked at in a 2x2 meeting. I wanted to say I shared with you, I think it was last year, it might have been 2 years ago, about concerns about start times at board meetings. Not because I don't know the work you guys have to do behind the scenes, but because discourse and engagement is really critical in our community. And when we post a start time and then we start really late, then what happens is that it discourages discourse. People go home and they don't come back. I understand your schedules. I understand you're basically doing this for free and this is your time. And so I'm not trying to abuse anybody here, but I do like it when you guys move closed session to afterwards because you're going to be here the same amount of time either way. And it would be nice if our community members could be represented in comments. I want to talk a little bit about trends in healthcare. We all know that in general, costs in healthcare are rising. Our teachers and our staff have been particularly hit hard. Last year, Kaiser went up 18%. This year, it's going up more than 19%. So we're approaching 40% in 2 years. Kaiser is supposed to be our low-cost coverage, and let me tell you, it's not low cost, and we're pricing people out of the profession. So I really appreciate the work the district has done with the associations to try and be creative. We're really excited about the work we're doing with Checker and the work that we're doing to make our healthcare committee, benefits committee more robust. But as we look towards bargaining later this year, I would just like to remind folks that if our goal is to retain and recruit, this is a major issue facing us. I want to talk a little bit about Westfield. It's a celebration in that Westfield's campus looks beautiful. And I also wanted to celebrate that we have Westfield very well represented tonight. I also see you, Riverbank. I see you, Elkhorn. I know you're here. not your night, but I want you to come anytime you want to. But tonight's Westfield's night, so I want to celebrate them and all of their hard work. Oh, thank you. I wanted to talk a little bit about, so when we passed the bonds, we did that because our intention was to make sure our students saw that we valued them and that the schools in the north side of town showed the respect that our students deserved. And I want to commend Kobe for his hard work on Measure Z to make sure that that happened. And we had conversations back then about how important it was to send messages, not with what we say, but also what we do. Measure Z came out at a really challenging time because we passed Measure Z and then inflation went like crazy, right? And so there were things that we weren't able to do there, and everybody understands that. So as we look at this beautiful building and are so grateful for being able to do that, I think we still need to remember that there are things that we were unable to do that we've got to keep on the back of our mind and not just move on as we work on other schools, because conditions, there's some problems with conditions over there that we need to address. The first one I want to talk about is for our youngest students there, the walking distance from their classrooms to be able to go up to the cafeteria and the office. It's really far. And a lot of that is without rain protection. And so I'm worried as it gets cold, we're going to have some very wet students going to lunch. And so there, obviously we can't change massive infrastructure things right away, but one thing that we could do is the little area of fence between the roundabout turning area and the building that goes to the playground, if we could cut a passageway through there so the students didn't have to walk all the way around and get wet before they go to the cafeteria. That's a little thing we could do. I know all things cost money, but I think in the long run, if we can address that, it'll be good for our little ones there. And then thinking about how to provide protection from the elements in the future. Another concern, and I understand windows were expensive and they were one of the things to go when inflation hit, but we have a lot of the old windows there and they're sealed shut. So ventilation is a problem in some rooms. And we are not so far removed from COVID where ventilation was a huge issue. And so I just want to make sure, again, windows are expensive. I know we're not going to solve it overnight, but I just kind of want to bring that to everybody's attention. Another thing that I'm hearing a lot about is the bare concrete floors with no carpet. People are reporting, back problems with standing on bare concrete all day. And then a big problem, and I never even thought about this, but I should have, being a first grade teacher for 21 years, desks moving around in those rooms, like it is literally, the decibel level is actually very high and hurting ears and making it hard to hear. So I don't know if we have some short-term resolutions for the carpeting area. I also get concerned about kids falling down on those hard floors, especially with the younger kids. Again, I'm celebrating Westfield, but I want to talk about the things we need to keep on our radar. Also, I'm concerned about, and again, I'm sure this is part of the funding issue with the inflation, but one of the rooms that we're pulling kids into only has access from other classrooms. And so those classrooms are being interrupted on a consistent basis for pullout, which is actually a violation of Ed Code. You can't have regular interruptions in a classroom. And also for our staff member, our poor staff member that's in that room, there's no windows and really poor ventilation. So she's not doing this. I've taken it calling it cell block D because that's kind of what it feels like. It's painted beautifully, but when there's not good ventilation and you can't see outside, and then students are having to interrupt. So in all, thank you for considering these schools that needed help. And this is not at all casting judgment on the board. We understand the situation, but I just want to keep this on the top level of our visibility so we can address these issues and continue to prioritize these schools where our students deserve the best. New teacher support. I wanted to talk a little bit about this, and I wanted to be really clear that this is not happening at every site. But I have seen some emails at sites from administration to new teachers, and many of them, where there is a lot of micromanaging and nitpicking and not any celebration. And these are hard sites to work at. So I wanted to remind, and listen, our administrators deserve professional development just like our teachers. So this is not saying that, people are bad or wrong, but it is saying that we need to work when we talk to teachers, we talk to teachers to make sure that they're doing grows and shows for our students. A brand new teacher, and those of us, I'm sure, Sarah, you remember when you were a new teacher, you feel isolated, you feel intimidated, you don't think anybody's going through the same problems you're going through. And we need our administrators, even though they're so busy and we know they have 18 million jobs in different categories to do, we need them to remember that we have to celebrate while we correct and modify, because we cannot afford to lose these young teachers. And I also encouraging administrators to see the diamond in the rough. A lot of really innovative teachers do not look like a typical teacher when they start, because they think outside the box. And sometimes that makes the growth a little slower. But if we can wait and see that diamond, we're going to have a very innovative teacher in the long run. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about documenting behavior, as we've had some concerns about safety and behavior over the last few years. And I've already talked to Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, Jay Burns, about this before bringing it to you. But I've heard a lot of reports in the last week of people documenting behavioral incidents in ARIES, which is the appropriate place for teachers to document, and then going back and looking at it later, and those documents have been altered. So what they reported about the behavior in the classroom no longer looks like what they reported. Now, I understand there's some legal requirements, like when we enter things into ARIES, we're not supposed to talk about ed code because there's other places to do that, and we're not supposed to use specific student names and those sorts of things. But I get really concerned when I hear about alterations made without contacting the teacher, especially if that's a record. And it also concerns me about liability, because if we recorded something about a student and then it gets erased, and then, God forbid, some incident happened, and then we found out that information was erased, that is not a good look. So I'm urging the board and Jay and the cabinet to look into this. I've already talked to the Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources about it. I think we should nib this as quick as possible if it's accurate, and I trust my teachers, and I've heard from several people. I think the problem here is, if I'm going to address it, is SWIS is a great program and it allows us to look at data. And teachers can enter information into the SWIS program, but they cannot look at the data. So their only place for them to enter and look into is ARIES. But right now, ARIES is set up so flexibly that it can be altered. So something to look at, something I'm concerned about. I want to wish you a happy rest of November, since I won't see you, it sounds like, until the 19th. And good evening.
Thank you. And for our next CSEA report, President Gandara.
I'm back. You guys got all October without me. Good evening, President Coffey, trustees, Superintendent Hildreth, and Cabinet. I want to first congratulate the employees, the classified and the certificated Yolo County Excellence in Education Award recipients. So I want to congratulate them. Tonight I want to talk about a couple things. The first one I'm going to talk about is item N1, the budget stabilization activities slide presentation. I see that we are projected to be fiscally okay for 27-28. And while that's a good thing, I don't think we stop the work in reviewing job descriptions. This is all going to tie into a couple other things. Reviewing job descriptions and still doing that work. I see we no longer need the budget stabilization subcommittee, so that's a good thing. But going into that, I know there's the director of, I'm going to get the DEI. I see that position as moving from a director 2 to a director 1. I think that position, we should really look at it. I mean, I just seen a presentation earlier tonight where our pillars and all that has equity built into it. We're a small enough district that we should have these core principles instilled in us. And I think we should really look into that and see if, I know Davis and Woodland don't have this position. Now, I'm sure Sac Unified, I'm sure Elk Grove, I'm going to go on a limb and say probably Twin Rivers, but they're 4 or 5 times the size of us. So I understand that. Also going into that, on the board agenda, there's a operations supervisor position that's now going to be vacant. I think we should review that. I'm going to publicly say I would like to schedule a meeting with Human Resource Assistant Superintendent, CBO, Maintenance and Operations and Transportation Director, myself, and our locksmith. My locksmith has been here for 15 plus years, and I've been here total time 14 years. So we were around before these positions existed. We knew what worked. We seen when they were created. We seen the evolution of it, and we seen where we're at now. I would like to have a meeting with the individuals I just named and see what we can do to, not even from a union standpoint of view, but just from a district standpoint of view, to get this back rolling again, get this together. So I would like to schedule that meeting and come up with a plan. I would also like to thank, I spent years criticizing, but, now I would like to thank Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Shay Borges. We worked very good together. We have meetings often. She came with me yesterday to Riverbank. We had a meeting with my classified members at Riverbank to hear their safety concerns, just concerns in general. And I want to thank her for attending that. And I know together we can get this fixed. In closing, he's not here, but I know it's 2 trustees' last board meeting tonight. And I want to thank Trustee Venegas for just the time and dedication. I know nobody up here understands, even in mine and Doug's role, no one understands the time you put into it until you're into it, right? Nobody told you guys when you all started you were going to be here till 11 p.m., 12 p.m., nobody said that. We have a joke in CSEA, they just want us to do an hour a month. Yeah,
Somebody told me that.
Yeah, an hour a month. And then also, Trustee Pizzani.
Thanks. I'm a desperation plug.
I want to thank you for your advocacy for labor. I know that's big on your plate. I know because you run into our association president downtown, and I hear it. And I just want to thank you for your service. You've been here 9 years, and I've been in this capacity 9-10 years. So we've been in this together. And, at least moving forward, you can watch Thursday night football. So that's a thing, right? So I just want to thank you, and you guys have a good evening.
Thank you. All righty, now we are moving on to our public comments. Before moving forward, I'd like to read this public comment disclaimer. At our regular board meeting held on February 9th, 2023, the board resolved that written public comments received by 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be provided to the board but not read into the record during the meeting. Members of the public may address the board on the topics of our board agenda during every meeting. In addition, during regular meetings, the public may also address any topic within the jurisdiction of the board. Please know the board is listening to your comments, but by law cannot meaningfully respond in this forum to items not on the agenda. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it waives the item limit for an item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. The board respects the right of members of the public to speak regarding matters within its jurisdiction. However, please recognize that comments regarding students other than the speaker's own children made during a public board meeting may be a violation of the student's right to privacy, and thus the speaker may be legally liable. If you reference a student's name other than your own student, you may be deemed out of order. Furthermore, it is important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in a public board meeting, may be actionable civil defamation. Although the board may not prohibit such comments, board policy allows the public to lodge complaints against district employees, providing more opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting law that governs this meeting. And I'd like to note there were several comments submitted in writing, and those will be in the record. And Mario, how many do we have?
We have 9 public comments requests, so I wanted to confirm if you wanted to limit to 20 or give every speaker 3 minutes.
I will give the speakers their 3 minutes, and I'm going to ask that the speakers please listen to what is being said, and if you hear somebody that's already said what you said, to go ahead and keep it a little shorter, just for everybody in the audience. All right?
Our first speaker is Aisha. Or sorry, Asia.
That's okay. I'll introduce myself. All right. Hi, my name is Asia Younk, and I'm well, first of all, good evening, board members. It's nice to see all of you. And I was going to say Superintendent Hildreth, but she stepped out for a minute. My name is Asia Younk, and I'm an intervention specialist for reading at Westmore Oaks. This is my 7th year in the district, and I feel that it's necessary to speak to you tonight on behalf of myself and on behalf of many of the teachers at Westmore, although I'm sure we're not the only site who are experiencing these issues. First, I know the sub shortage is affecting districts statewide, but I know that there are things that we can do as a district to improve our odds of hiring more substitute teachers and reliable substitute teachers, namely recruitment and pay. Other districts across the river are doing a better job recruiting and paying substitutes a higher wage. So we are hemorrhaging substitutes, and our schools are suffering as a result. Not just the teachers, but the students who have gotten to know regular guest teachers only to see them leave for other districts. Also, it is possible to pay substitutes more, and I want to note this, as well as paying teachers a fair and competitive wages. It just has to be budgeted for. Secondly, this is a personal issue for me, but Westmore Oaks is in desperate need of a permanent VAPA teacher. Our students are not receiving the same benefits as other students in the district. The lack of a permanent teacher is affecting our teachers who are not receiving their prep time and students who do not receive VAPA instruction, which if we as educators know that so many of these students would benefit from music, art, theater, something to get that out for them. Lastly, I want to bring up onboarding for new teachers as well as substitutes. When I started in the district, the hiring process and transition was smooth. I felt very lucky, and I kind of took that for granted. I felt supported when I started at my first site, Westfield, and I can tell you that this is not the same for many new teachers in the district. As a site rep, but also somebody who knows many teachers, people come to me and are like, don't want to speak up because they're a new teacher, but they've had so many issues and they're really trying. So I just think we need to do better and think long term, but at the same time, stop putting bandages on bigger wounds before it becomes irreversible, and then it will definitely impact our teachers and our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next public comment request is from Judy Moreno.
Good evening, board. Dr. Hildreth, my name is Judy Moreno. I stand here tonight in complete gratitude. Dr. Hildreth, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with me last week and earlier this calendar year. I know you are dedicated to our community and its continued work towards academic excellence. Also, Nicole Wilson, you're like a sister to me, so much more than a colleague. You deserve that award, girl. Finally, Board Member Pizzotti, as your tenure winds down, I want to publicly acknowledge and thank you for your service to our community and our school. Being a board member is no easy task, and I know that the decisions you make come with significant responsibility and difficult choices. Your commitment to WUSD and your willingness to serve such an demanding role deserves acknowledgement and appreciation. You are here to balance a wide range of perspectives and priorities. and that's a challenge not everyone can take on. So I say simply, thank you. And finally, on a personal note, every July when Aaron Moreno would post how excited he was to celebrate my sober anniversary with me, you were always in the comments to congratulate me. And I just want to say to you that you always saw me as a human. You know my story, and you just don't think there's that Italian loudmouth teacher. So thank you so much for everything you've done for us. Since I have time, I also want to say one more thing, and I feel like I need to turn around and face the audience for this, but it is what it is. Over the past couple weeks, there's been a lot of talk about our school, the school that I love so much. And I just want to remind everyone that there are real lives and names attached to what's happening at Riverbank, and some of us are living it in real time. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next public comment request is from Kendall Meisner. Sorry.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. Thank you for the time. I'm coming to you, and I'm trying to keep things sorted out because it seems my issues are probably a little bit more complex than what I should probably say here. But I want to, one, encourage you guys to maybe come down and visit with some of the staff. There seems to be some frustration going on with some things that are going on the school site. There is a large group of teachers that are very supportive of one of our new VP hires, or sorry, AP hires, that seems to be getting some pushback. Our experience, and a lot of this is anecdotal and us talking, at the lunch table and stuff, is this new VP is very supportive of the teachers. If we go to this VP for a request, is quick to act on it. I know anecdotally I can say I went to some returning ADs to have my area cleared out during the lunchtime. I have the classroom by the bus loop and the bicycle racks, and kids hide there during lunch and cause a disturbance in my class. I asked several times and got no response. I went to the new VPs, and within 2 days it was cleared out, and I haven't had to worry about my classroom being disrupted or the trash or the graffiti, because they were kind enough to come out and follow up on request by a teacher. And they do that with several different instances. Like I said, don't have the time here or maybe the appropriateness here, but I would really encourage, and I would love to meet with anybody to talk in more detail. But the new VPs at River City High School, I think, are top notch, and they should be supported. I know there's more than half of us on site there that support them wholeheartedly, and we would like to let that be known that the people on the ground that totally interact with the kids face to face all the time want these VPs around on our site. And I just wanted you to be aware of that. And I would love to talk with any and all of you if you like. I could come to your office, or you can come to my classroom, have first period prep. But again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And please talk to the teachers. We'd love to share our feelings about the VPs. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Our next public comment request is from Patrice Griffith.
Not till she talks.
Okay, my name is Patrice Griffith, and I'm a River City parent, River City and Bridgeway Islands Black Student Union co-advisor. As a Yellow Food Bank board member, I would like to thank Yellow Food Bank for the 1,300 pounds of candy they donated and went to my home, where I distributed to a multitude of schools in the district. I just want to say to everybody that in the future, we're happy to do that again. So please reach out to the food bank or to myself. As a BSU co-advisor, I'm proud to share that River City Councilor Ms. Clark and I took 23 students to a college expo at Sac State, where Washington Unified School District students took home approximately $250,000 in scholarships and were accepted to 11 colleges on the spot. That has not happened before in my approximate 10 years as an advisor. Sac State President Luke Wood even took time out of his schedule to come speak specifically to our kids, making a special commitment to them and to all students within WUSD. Finally, students have confided in me the increase of hate speech in the last month on numerous campuses, as well as fears shared with me confidentially this week from WUSD teachers and classified employees regarding undocumented students and families. I was asked to please remind the board and all families that WUSD is a safe haven for all. I do urge WUSD to move beyond adoption of the No Hate campaign shared with you in 2023 by students, but to actual implementation. There is no better time than now. This is also a gentle reminder that behavior of hate speech, trolling, gossiping, it starts with adults, especially those that are thought to have a positive influence on this community. And since I have 53 seconds left, I would like to add that earlier this evening, I did attend River City High School's winter athlete event for students, and I was very proud to see that there were 758 student athletes last year, and the cumulative GPA was 3.46. So I commend all the educators for that, because that is a direct contribution to those who are teaching them from TK all the way through high school. Thank you.
Thank you. I missed that meeting since I'm here.
Our next public speaker is John Gomez.
Hello, my name is John Gomez. I have students, multiple students at Bridgeway Elementary. I apologize, I don't have a speech ready. I found out about this meeting probably 2-3 hours ago on my way home from work. And what I wanted to ask about or question is the change in the schedule that on the calendar for next year. Is that set in stone that you're going to extend it out into the beginning of August, or are you going to start school in the beginning of August? August 6th.
Yeah.
The calendar
The one that we just adopted the last, yeah, so that was already, so this coming school year.
Correct.
That's coming is starting in early August.
And so that's set in stone. You
Yeah.
can't change that in any way?
It already went through a few sessions, a few meetings, and was adopted. There was several options that were provided that we reached out to the community, asked for survey.
We commented on the surveys. Several families that I know commented on the surveys as well and said it'd be a terrible idea to extend it into some of the hottest days in the summer. And I just wanted to know why it went through then.
Well, this is more of a public comment forum, so you can ask and say things, but it's not supposed to be more of a dialogue. If you have questions, we can you can email me afterwards and we can have that conversation.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, well then just real quick then.
Yeah.
So the comment would be, it would be in my opinion that it would put more of a hardship on the children. It's too hot in those weeks during the early August. I was kind of told why they wanted to do it. I'm not really sure if that was the real reason, but I just think it's a terrible idea. Kids need to go outside. They don't need to be kept inside because it's too hot on the blacktop, and that's happened multiple times at their school, especially at the end of the summer anyway. Kids need to go out. They need to, kind of detox and then go back in for a better learning environment. If we can talk later, that would be great. I'd really appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
Very welcome. Sure he gets my email.
Our next public comment is from Justice Spencer.
I'm here on behalf of River City as a student and on behalf of staff, Dr. V. I want to talk about my experience of what's been going on, and what my experiences have been is, as a student at River City, I attend BSU. I'm always persevering, working hard. There are some problems at the school that do occur, and sometimes I feel like our VPs are the people who step in and take that higher step to make sure that we are protected. And the experiences that I've experienced at the school has kind of been drastic sometimes. And I feel like our VPs have stepped up and took that charge for our safety. More so I can say is Dr. V has definitely made a great impact, a very great impact. It has made me especially want to do better as a student, as a person. He has given me so much to accomplish, and not even just her, just all the VPs there that have set in stone to take that action for their student. No matter what race, no matter what's going on, no matter how hard this person has worked for something, they have always been there to keep us disciplined, to keep us steady going on the right path. And I feel like that is something that we need as a community, as a whole, or just for everybody. And I feel like certain things can be pushed on if we do it as a group. And I feel like that's something we can do. We can take a bigger step as a community, as a group, as a whole. And that's just something I dearly that's how I feel. I just want to say thank you for listening to somebody like me. And I do know it can be tough for y'all too, because we all have things going on in our life. But I feel like for us, if we can do it as a group, as a whole, as a community, we can take it further than what it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next public comment is from Carmen O'Hare.
Hello. Good evening, board and cabinet. Justice is my son. I am not only a River City parent, but I'm also a River City volunteer. I'm here to speak on behalf of the character exemplified by the VPs, in particular Dr. V. I have two students. One is Justice, and another one is Jada. She's a senior, and she's a sophomore. I've been in this community for almost 5 years. There were some previous concerns I had regarding the safety of our students prior to Dr. V employment. With that said, all students deserve to feel safe. As my son stated, that is something that we all are wanting for the community as whole. We often criticize the next generation, their flaws, but my question is, what are we doing about those things? Dr. Verscher is a person that is doing something about that for the betterment of River City students and the community, setting a standard of excellence, accountability, and compassion. Not only is she leading by example with empathy and education, leading the way, she is also doing the best to provide all students with a healthy and safe learning environment. Her dedication, professionalism, and excellence is shown and has been impactful for all students, and particularly my children, and the community connected to it as well. I would also like to add that Dr. V is at the forefront of accountability and positive change. And I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. If she were to ever leave RC for any reason, her absence would will only hinder the positive changes that's going forward, that my son is talking about. We should all come together to make that change. I think we should, as parents, board members, and staff, I think that if we're leading by example, the change that we want to see in the world starts here. Thank you for listening.
Welcome. Thank you.
Our next public comment is from Keisha Young.
Hello, I'm Janiyah Wright. I'm Kaisha Young's daughter, and I attend River City High School. And today I'll be reading a poem on behalf of Dr. Verscher that I wrote. To Dr. Verschure, at River City High School, a beacon shines so bright, a leader with a vision, a warrior for what's right. Dr. Verschure is the name, a principal of grace who in 4 short months has transformed this place. With courage steadfast and a heart so true, she's shown the students what one can do. A voice of wisdom, a steady guide, in every hall she walks with pride. She's more than a vice principal, more than a name. She's hope reborn, a spirit of flame. Her smile, a light when day grows dim. Her words, a spark that makes dreams swim. She's taught us young minds to reach, to soar, to push past limits, to strive for more. With determination carved deep in her soul, she's helped us see what we are whole. She challenges doubt, she defies the odd. She shows her strength. Her courage speaks when silence falls. Her faith resounds in these very walls. Through lessons taught and battles fought, she's given us more than we ever thought. A place of safety, a realm of growth, where dreams and realities intertwine both. Dr. Verschure, the leader, the dreamer, the light, thank you for showing that we can all take flight. With every step and every stand, you've inspired young souls to expand. 4 months may pass, but seeds are sown. In every heart, the courage you've shown. River City High will forever owe to the vice principal who helped us grow. Juniah Wright, November 12, 2024. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Our last public comment request is from Andrea Colbert Evans. Oh, that concludes our public comment.
All right. Thank you, thank you. And now we are going to go ahead and move on to our public hearing. And the board will now open the public hearing regarding the sunshine of the bargaining proposals for both the Washington Unified School District and the California Schools Employee Association and its Riverview Chapter 168, presented by Shay Borges, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Sorry.
Good evening, board again. The public hearing is to allow the board to take action for the negotiation process to begin. The primary goal is to make the negotiation process open to the public, allowing the community to understand the proposed changes to employee contracts, which begins with the sunshine proposals. Negotiations with CSEA and WSDA are as follows. CSEA has proposed to open Article 10, Organizational Security and Dues Deduction, Article 18, Salary and Compensation, Article 19, Unit Member Benefits, and Article 21, Safety, with USD in alignment with Article 21, Safety. In addition, WSD has proposed Article 6, Transfers. These proposals are attached on tonight's agenda for viewing.
All right, are there any public comments?
No public comments received.
Any questions from the board? No? Well, this concludes the public hearing for this item, and now we will move on to the next. The board will now open the public hearing for the sunshine of the bargaining proposal for Washington Unified School District and the West Sacramento Teachers Association, and again, presented by Shay Borges.
As stated just a minute ago, the public hearing is to make the negotiation process open to the public, allowing the board to take action to begin the negotiation process. This is a successor contract negotiations with WSTA and WUSD. WSTA has proposed to open Article 6, Evaluation Procedures, Article 11, Leaves, Article 14, Duty Hours, Article 16, Class Size, Article 17, Compensation, and Article 18, Unit Member Benefits. With WUSD in alignment with Article 6, Evaluations, Article 14, Duty Hours, and Article 16, Class Size. In addition, WSD has proposed Article 22, Public Comments, and Article 19, Early Childhood Education Programs. Again, these proposals are attached to tonight's agenda for viewing.
All right. Are there any public comments?
No public comments received.
Any comments from the board? All right, and that concludes our public hearing for this meeting. And now we move on to our information or discussion items. Update on the budget stabilization activities. Ms. Monique Stovall.
Good evening. I'm joined with our Director of Fiscal Services, Billy Duba. I'll present, but we're both here to answer any questions you may have. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide an update on our budget stabilization plan. I think I can advance. Thank you. We'll provide a status update on our activities and our next steps. We'll review our activities to date, a very brief financial overview, and next steps. With the budget, it aligns with every section of our strategic plan as it funds all of our activities. So to start with activities to date, what we'll be showing you this evening is a timeline and a brief synopsis of what we've been doing over the past few months. As a reminder, in June 2024, you all adopted the budget for this year, and at that time, we projected significant budget cuts would be needed this year. However, and then in August, we had a board budget stabilization study session with you all. And then in December, when we closed the books and we closed out the 23-24 school year, we saw that revenue had increased and expenses had decreased, and therefore cuts this year are not required. In September, staff continued to assess the budget and especially our COVID-19 expenses. In October, we engaged with a demographer to begin assessing our enrollment, our school capacity, and then also looking at our school boundaries. As we're all aware, some of our schools have many school students, almost double of what other schools have. And so we want to see what opportunities we might be able to have, be able to balance out our schools and be able to have facilities available to support all of our students now and in the future. And then, of course, staff continued to assess the budget. We'd like to have a brief overview of our budget. Some of it's a reminder. The 23-24 revenues, as we said, increased and expenses decreased. Therefore, to reiterate, budget cuts this year are not required, significant budget cuts. Our board policy requires a 6% reserve for economic uncertainties to be able to protect our district against financial emergencies in the future. And this is 3% higher than what's required by law. But even though in the graph below, or excuse me, in the table below, we see that last year, this year, and the next 2 years, financially, we meet the board's required 6%. In 27-28, current projections indicate that we may not meet the requirement. We do want to make sure that we call this out because it tells us that we still need to be very conservative and mindful with assessing our budget and our future expenditures. In reviewing our COVID-19 positions and expenditures, as a reminder, all COVID-19 funds expired on September 30th, 2024. Non-personnel expenses have ended or have been funded through other sources, such as the as LCAP. And alternative funding sources have been identified for the 23 positions that were previously funded by COVID-19 dollars. Specifically, 3 positions are funded by the general fund, 1 position funded by the general fund, LCAP, and 19 positions funded by the Arts, Music, and Instructional Materials Block Grant that expires in June 2026. So what's next? This month, in November, we are engaging with an organization, a company, to be able to assess our staffing to determine if it would be within the district's best interest to offer an early retirement incentive. So we're doing that analysis. In November, that's when the Legislative Analyst Office, the LAO, begins to provide information about the budget outlook for the next year. Next week, Billy and I are going to the CBO Symposium, and that's when we hear from the LAO and financial experts to start getting a preview of what next year might look like. In December, we'll come to you with the first interim budget report and ask for your approval. We want to kind of give a preview of what we're doing with the first interim. We are looking very, very deeply at each budget line, because as we saw in 23-24, revenue increased, expenses decreased. And so we want to be able to recognize that and be able to catch that and report that, should that be something similar for this coming year. In January, the governor will release his proposed budget for the 25-26 school year. In February, we plan to have a board budget study session, and this year we want to have another budget study session with our labor partners. And then in March, we'll ask for your approval of the second interim financial report. By that time, and possibly even by first interim, we will be able to know solidly if a budget advisory committee is needed, and we'll be able to share that information with you and our community. Thank you.
Are there any public comments? We have any comments from the board? There are some. You don't have any right now? Would you like?
Okay. Could you please go back to the slide that had the fiscal year? There you go. There you go. Okay, so as we just heard in our public hearings, that both bargaining units plan to open up negotiations regarding salary increases, right? And as we look at this slide, it does not include salary increases as a part of our projections for 26-27, right? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So effectively, any salary increase that we do, any pickup of any kind, anything, was going to bring us below the 6%. So some sort of reduction is probably going to have to take shape into the future ahead of time before we get there, because it's not likely that the fiscal outlook of the state is going to be any better in this coming year, because I'm hearing that we're already around $30 to $38 billion in the hole from the state side. So that means not a whole lot in the way of a COLA, right? And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because we have two future trustees sitting in the audience right now that actually need to start thinking about this, because this isn't going to be my problem necessarily, right? You may hear about me saying some things up here, but I just want to, make us aware that the numbers that we see here are they're fuzzy numbers in the sense that, yes, they're right for right now, but we have to be cognizant because we have to adjust for certain things like healthcare pickups, like any increases in salaries that we may want to give, any class sizes. They all have a factor in what we're going to have as an outgo of revenue going forward, and it compounds. And that's the real thing that I'm going to be I want to, especially to the two of you, I want to be very clear that even like a 3% increase in salaries will compound over the years, right? So 26-27 is most likely not the 6%, and that 6% is what our board minimum, policy minimum is. So we need to make sure that as 7-8 looks, we're 6% underwater with no increases. So we have to start figuring out ways, if we're going to, be able to recruit and retain staff, we have to start finding ways to do accounting for it now, earlier than later, because that does have an accrual effect over time. So that's just my comment that I wanted to make, and that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you. I appreciate those comments. And the piece I would just ask, I appreciate, and I think a lot of people in Washington Unified appreciate going into the holidays, going into the year, not having that angst of, wondering about position cuts and pieces like that. We've had a lot of good news, but we need to continue to look very carefully at positions and at what we have in our district. And so you have here the February budget study session, and it would not be earlier. When I think about the timeline for your next steps, the reason that you would not move that sooner is because you're waiting, or is it because we're waiting for the governor's?
January.
Yes.
Yes, that's why I'm asking.
Thank you for your question. We are waiting for the governor to release his proposal, and then it takes time to analyze that. We do our own analysis, and then in the school district finance community, we come together and have a more deep analysis, and that usually comes about a week or two after the budget comes out. We also start hearing more clarifications about the budget. And so I think last year we might have had the meeting maybe the last week or first week of February, but our goal is to have that hopefully around the first week of February. But to answer your question, it's the timing of when the governor releases his budget and then the time it takes to be able to analyze it and make sure that we're bringing you the information with as much clarity as we can.
And I appreciate you sharing in past updates as well that school sites, all departments, is this still true, have been looking at their budgets in terms of, whatever they might be spending money on in terms of professional development or whether it be on materials, that everyone's looking at what they're doing in their departments to make sure that the fiscal impact is having an impact on our kids or organizations. Is that still the case?
Billy, would you like to speak to that and the work that you're doing with the schools?
Yeah, we do meet with the principals and directors and have budget reports sent, and we're constantly reviewing their budgets.
And to add to that, I know that in HR, in business services, and I know Audrey with her teams, we're really analyzing all of our expenditures. We're analyzing our budgets. We're analyzing the steps that we're taking. If this is something new that we're adding on, why? What might change? Is this something that's ongoing? Is it one time? And then, of course, as I shared, Billy and I are currently doing comparisons of, where were we last year at first interim? Are we on track? Are we not on track? What might that look like towards the end, which helps us to be able to have more direct conversations with schools and departments about where their budget is and what their true needs are to be able to support our students. You're welcome.
I think it's also important to maybe insert the LCAP and where the public is actually engaged. I think that's also part and parcel to the engagement. We're talking about the school site councils, which is again our statutory responsibility on how our funding formula is allocated. So maybe just also include that in where that is in the process of the public knows where the parent voice lives as our statutorily required. Again, statutorily required responsibility as a board, right? So that's one thing. And I think another thing that we need to consider, and I'm going to say it out loud, I know I talked to you as I walked in, is that given we are so heavily reliant on federal funds, it might not be a this year thing, but an out year, future year thing, and you probably can't answer it now, but something that we also should be cognizant of we rely on a lot of federal dollars. And that support our students with special needs. That has been a priority for this board. And I think I'm just saying that out loud for the public to know that things not just about the California budget, but changes in the federal government and how they want to allocate or not allocate dollars will affect us as well. After school, all of it. All of it.
One of the things that was on your slides was also talking about COVID-19 funding positions. And I understand that we're looking and we're doing a deep dive and analysis of these, of everything really. This was one-time monies. We didn't expect them to be here forever, but somehow, and I'm not sure when it happened, but we went ahead and we shifted those one-time monies uses and we were putting into our general funds, and we're taking it from other places that I'm thinking probably shouldn't have been. We know that something is going to expire. We know that something is not going to be with us before we go ahead and just put it in and start grabbing from general fund. We really need to be a little bit more mindful of, there was a reason why this money was given to us. It was to fulfill a need. Now that we're not giving that money, do we really need this before we start taking from other places? Because once we start doing that, now we're shortchanging ourselves in other areas. So I'm not sure what happened with the COVID-19 dollars in the sense of, we know where it went towards funding certain areas, but why we're still funding it, even though, I'm not saying COVID is not around, I just got over it. But I'm trying to grasp my brain to understand why we are continuing to fund something with that was given to it like one-time monies, if that makes sense. And if that's what I'm thinking, I can only imagine what the public is also thinking, like, okay, well, this was only a one time, why are we still grabbing from other places to make it work?
Absolutely. And it goes back to, I'll say, the pre-COVID mindset of we do not use one-time funds to pay for ongoing expenses. And we are in the situation where by law, we had to use it to pay for ongoing expenses, specifically personnel, and we decided to use the money to support additional personnel. However, in our district, we did not put an end date. Moving forward, that's something that we will rectify, especially for one-time funded positions, grant-funded positions. For the 19 positions in the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant, that was board approved last June or May, as a placeholder to be able to give us that time and to assess those positions and assess our needs, because these positions are supporting our students. And so that gives our district time to be able to assess and say, okay, are these, what's going to happen in the future of these positions? I don't recall specifically the LCAP and the general fund positions. Billy, do you recall what those are? No. I think one of them, actually, I just remembered. It's our coordinator of student leadership. And so that's appropriate we believe that that was appropriate to be included with the LCAP, which the board approved. And then if you would like additional information on the general fund funded positions, I'd be happy to share that with you, and maybe some history if
that would be nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have another question?
Yeah, I did. Can you let me know what those 19 positions are that went into the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant?
They're paraeducator ones.
They're paraeducator ones. Okay. And do they do anything that have to do with arts and music?
I don't believe so. I don't know. I don't know what they do.
So this was the placeholder spot?
Yes. Yes.
I think it's also.
But they were, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think they're originally COVID positions, right? They're part of the 30 some odd that we hired.
They were.
Okay, and then the COVID monies ran out, so we put them someplace.
I was just going to suggest that maybe we also, as we're sharing information, just a reminder of the allowables for the arts, music, and instructional materials block grant, because it has arts and music in there, but the actual allowable for this particular fund, which is different than Prop 28, which is only for arts and music. So this block grant allowed funding for instructional materials, PD, in specified areas like BAPA, world languages, math, science, ELA, ethnic studies, financial literacy, media literacy, so really any of our focus areas, improving school climate, developing diverse and culturally relevant library collections, covering operational costs, including retirement and healthcare cost increases. So my understanding, and please let me know if I'm not completely remembering correctly, was that with this particular grant funding, the state gave this as a little bit more flexibility for districts, knowing that the transition for COVID needing some operational costs differently. This was the funding that was recommended as we went to some of our workshops on budgeting of ways to still support our students with different funding, knowing that the funding date would be out. But this is different than Prop 28. Just trying to make sure I'm clear in my own brain.
Yes, Dr. Hill, you're correct.
So let me double back on that a little bit. Well, first off, I think I said this before about, the title is what the title is, and it seems to be misleading if we're going to be utilizing it for, for other things than what the title stands for. But having said that, why are the, it seems like more the administrator type positions or the higher fund positions or higher cost positions coming out of the general fund and out of the LCAP and not the inverse, where the para positions are coming out of a grant position instead of a permanent slot.
We allocate the positions based upon the allowability of that funding source. And I know, Billy, you were involved with the LCAP, and are you able to speak to that a little bit more?
Those 19 positions weren't allowable in the LCAP. We'd have to,
But they are under the general fund, aren't they?
in the general fund, but they're not part of our supplemental concentration dollars. They're not for students with special needs.
Okay, but again, I guess to my point, the optics of it is kind of less than favorable if you're coming at it from, maybe a rank and file person, and you see that more administrators or high cost positions are not necessarily coming out of, a grant position. You're seeing it come out of, general fund and something that's permanent, right? Just the optics of that is not necessarily great, from a labor perspective. And, I'm just wondering what's the rationale behind that?
The rationale is that we did not want to impact the general fund, and there was an appropriate funding source to be able to fund these positions, to give us time to determine if these positions would eventually come into the general fund.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Just a thank you for the work. It is hard, and it's going to be a hard next 3 years. And I'm just going to thank you in advance, and thank you for answering our questions thoroughly. And I know that you have a lot to juggle. We have a lot of big decisions ahead of us. Thank you for being transparent and giving us the information that we've requested over the years.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, we thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Are there any public comments on consent?
No public comment?
All right, well, are there any comments from the board? Good. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I second.
Moved by Clerk Kirby Gonzalez, second by Trustee Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
I too say aye. All right.
Can I stop and make a comment first? And there may be others, but I recognize one. We approved just now multiple coaches that will be coming to us. One of them, though, is here, I recognize, and if any others are, please stand. But Don Satchel will be our JV head coach for softball, and he's just an all-around wonderful volunteer in our schools. At Southport Garden, I worked at Zogate Garden one day, and he showed up to volunteer too. And then when our girls in the rec league here needed a coach, they were not going to be able to play, he stepped up and coached them. And it's personal because one was my daughter. So I very much appreciate you. And I'm glad that River City will have your talent.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to action items. First action item, P1, sunshine of the bargaining proposals for both Washington Unified School Districts, WSD, and the California Schools Employees Association, CSEA, and its Riverview Chapter 168.
No.
What? Oh, my goodness. Welcome, Shay.
I heard somebody was shy back there. I was like, okay. Earlier this evening, a public hearing was held regarding the sunshine proposals for WSD and CSEA. We are seeking board approval of the sunshine proposals with CSEA begin the negotiation process.
All right, do we have any public comments?
No public comments?
Are there any comments from the board?
I move.
Moved by Vice President Pizzotti.
A second.
Second by Trustee Wong. All in favor?
Aye.
And I too say aye. All right, moving on to the next one, sunshine of the bargaining proposals for WSD and the West Sacramento Teachers Association. Shay Borges, welcome back.
Thank you. Earlier this evening, a public hearing was held regarding the sunshine proposals for WSD and WSTA. We are seeking board approval for sunshine proposals with WSTA to begin the negotiation process.
Are there any public comments?
No public comments?
Any comments from the board?
I move.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Wong, second by...
Oh, wait. I have to make one comment. Thank you for doing this all in 3 weeks, all y'all. So that's amazing. So I want to acknowledge that work. So
Kudos. Okay, moved by Trustee Wong, seconded by Vice President Pizzotti. All in favor?
Aye.
And I too
Aye.
say aye. All right, and now moving on to approval of Girl Scouts Heart of Central California for the expanded learning programs. Ms. Autry Streak, and maybe not. What was it?
Tina.
I was going to
Tina's
say,
gonna do it.
Tina, welcome. I was like, you don't look like Autry.
Good evening, President Coffey, Vice President Pizzotti, and trustees and Dr. Hildreth. We are here, myself and our coordinator and our Girl Scouts, part of Central California, here seeking for approval for Girl Scouts for our expanded learning program. Girl Scouts Heart of Central California will implement 2 Girl Scouts clubs per school across our 7 Washington Unified School Districts. Sites for this school year. The clubs will serve girls in kindergarten through 3rd grade, so we kind of want to start like a cohort of small groups. They will be segmented into 2 groups. It's called the Daisy and the Brownie, and I'm learning because I don't know about Girl Scouts besides the delicious cookies.
all we know is cookies.
But the Girl Scouts Club will run from December through May of 2025 with a total of 12 meetings per school year, accounting for holiday breaks. Meetings will take place once every 2 weeks, lasting between 1.5 to 2 hours, and will provide opportunities for students to earn skill-based badges and patches, allowing them to voice their interests and shape their programming. We'll have 2 models. 3 sites will be run per our Girl Scout staff, and then the other 4 will be run like a hybrid program. So we have 2 models we'll be doing, and the financial impact will be a total of $186,000 and $925 funded by Expanded Learning Opportunities grant money.
All right, are there any public comments?
For this item? Patrice Griffith is asking if she can make a public comment on this item.
If she would like to, she can.
He hadn't signed up, but we will
That's
ask
okay.
the president now.
If she would rather speak and then fill that out after, she's more than welcome to.
Oh, yeah, that's fine, yeah. Thank you.
So that way you can use your time wisely.
Because I was about to say, no public comment.
Thank you. My apologies. I am also a scout leader for the Scouts of America and have been for a decade. We currently, I'm a scout leader in the chartered organization rep. So I am the one that bridges all of our scouts here in West Sac. We only have 1 pack of kids, K to 5. And I recently in October visited almost every school in the district while someone else went to a couple others I couldn't make. From my understanding of this, I'm just a little surprised if the financial impact, which would still come through a grant, but whatever the case is, we signed up 40 additional scouts. And we want to make sure that scouting is inclusive, as I'm sure Girl Scouts of America is the same. Being a former Girl Scout, I'm sure that's the same. But we bear a huge amount of work. So I'm actually a little, I'm proud and jealous that you're able to potentially do this in your schools versus leaders and parents like myself who currently, we have about 114 scouts, which is actually why I stepped out. We have a problem where we have so many kids, and me being the person I am as the organization rep, refuse to turn any away, but it poses a problem. So I'm looking forward to a program such as this and looking forward to seeing what the impact is with the kids. I do think that both scouting programs create phenomenal children in both organizations, and it really leads them to be socially responsible students. So if it's something that can be for the long run, that would be great. But, I want to make sure that money doesn't come out of the district at all for this, because Girl Scouts of America, as well as Scouting of America, they both have their pots of money with which to do work in the community, and volunteers are not compensated in Scouting of America. And I probably put in an easy 25 hours a week. The other people on my call, being the pack master that oversees 114 kids, as well as our treasurer and chair, they put in probably equivalent time frame. So I just, I'm interested to see this, but I just want to make sure that it is fair to the district and fair to those who are going to be, leading in the organization. That is all. Thank you so much for my last minute comment.
No worries. Don't forget to fill out the form. Any questions from the board or comments?
Move.
We have a few questions, but I'll get you.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, yes, I have a couple questions, and shout out the utility box right across the street when you leave, even though it's dark. You will notice a beautiful wrap around it full of children's artwork, and then you'll notice also beautiful dandelion design on it with one of our white butterflies that's native to our area, because Troop 808, my Girl Scout troop, presented here to the Historical Arts Commission and had a proposal, and that was their project right across the street. So I am a fan of that. Yes, an unpaid job. My question would be, as I see the cost, can you tell us a little bit about some of the experiences? Would this help girls go to camp? I know that we have a proposal here too as well, but that's what I'm wondering. That's the biggest barrier I usually have as a teacher when I want to take kids to outdoor ed. That's why I'm so proud of what we do here with our outdoor ed, paying for every child. But I'm wondering about that with this, because that can be hard for kids. So will this help with some of those experiences too, or is this purely the cost to be run on site? Will any field trips be included?
Good evening. This particular contract would be for the school year program, and so there would be a separate conversation for summer programming, but camp.
And then I noticed that some sites, for example, they have 2 staff members and others have 1. And so I'm wondering, is what happens if we don't have the enrollment at one site? Is this a prediction? Would it be, is this the max of the contract would be, and it might be less if we don't have those? What would that look like?
So we did pass out registration forms to the school sites, again, for our TK through 3rd grade students. And after doing the registration forms, so I think right now we sent out about 400 registration forms across the 7 school sites. And we've heard lots of positive excitement for the girls wanting to be in the program. So I do know that the reason why there is the 2 different models is 2 of the organizations have opted for Girl Scout-led only troops, just because they didn't have the capacity to do the hybrid model with the other 4 sites, where it'd be the troops would be co-led by a Girl Scout troop leader and one of the staff members to kind of build the capacity in the future to keep their girls going. And we have had discussions, if there is low enrollment, that if there's low enrollment at one site versus higher enrollment at other, that they would be able to shift around to meet the capacity, because I know some sites might only could potentially have up to 40. Some can potentially have up to 100 girls in the troops, depending on the enrollment and the level of commitment for the girls. So there are talks right now as we have talks about what are contingencies in case of those enrollments. Right now, we're waiting for those forms to come back to get actual numbers, and then can more determine troop sizes and staffing across the sites after that.
Another piece is that we're going to be hosting a family night and they'll come out in the evening to also bring awareness to some family members that have heard about Girl Scouts but don't know what are the benefits. And some families, we also have to keep in mind that they may not be able to do all those extra things. And so having that experience at least will spark interest for investment in Girl Scouts. So just knowing that we're going to try to inform the parents as much as we can, and then look into logistics of how can we better support. There might be some sites that we might have to do more or less, but flexibility and conversations are taking place.
And then lastly, just for this contract, as we look at it, are these girls going to be asked to sell cookies or have, what does that look like? Or is it included in the price and they just get cookies?
Are you saying we get cookies? Are we buying cookies?
No, the kids, because that's a big, push. And if we're talking about, our sites, that could create that's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, it's an option for them to participate if they would like to. We do have a modified program for selling cookies for the girls in this program so that it's not such a significant burden on families. So there's an option to do a one-day booth sale. We have other options, and it just depends on the interest of the girls and the families.
So if they sell cookies, do we get a reduced price on our contract?
That's not what that's not the way I was asking.
That's not the purpose.
I was making it more
That's not
that
the purpose
I'm just saying,
Girl Scout cookie sales. That is not the purpose of the cookie.
Budget sales, I mean, you're getting something.
Okay, those are my questions.
As a former troop leader and a cookie manager who has a Girl Scout cookie scar, I do. That's another story for another day. Just a couple questions. It's interesting because there's only a $5,000 approximate differential between getting 2 Girl Scout like staff versus the hybrid. Help me kind of make that make sense.
That's based on the free. Then that's per site you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's because the meetings take place every other week. They're not every single week, and so it just depends on if you want to have the 2 staff. From us, we have part-time facilitators that we hire to come in and do the afternoon work, and so they're not benefited positions.
And then I guess just wondering, this happens right after school as part of the after-school okay, so that there's more ability to actually have young people across the district. And I know that, and Sarah, you know this, it's always been challenging to get, Girl Scout troops started in certain areas because parents are working, et cetera, so giving them the opportunity for leadership on those campuses is like really exciting, right? And I really do miss Girl Scouts, but I say, can I volunteer? They don't ask me back to volunteer, except they say, do you want to be a cookie manager? So I said, no, thank you. So with that, thank you for the explanations. I'm happy to second whenever and then take the vote whenever we're ready.
I do have a question. So the contract is from October 2024 through May of 2025 with a total of 12 meetings per year. Since we've already gone through the month of October and we're halfway through the month of November, are we still going to be getting our 12 meetings or is it going to be less than, because if it's only every other week?
Yes, they should be able to get their 12 meetings. We're planning on doing 2 meetings in the month of December and then 2 every month, January through May.
Okay. And then, and it doesn't matter how long, if it's an hour and a half to 2 hours, that is included, doesn't really fluctuate in there. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because it said October and I was like, okay, we're already past that.
Good point. I hadn't done the math on that. So we didn't have October's meetings. We didn't have any meetings thus far this month. Okay.
Well, it hasn't signed. Okay. We haven't done this.
Okay.
So that's why I was like wondering how that would work.
Make that, yeah.
Okay.
Good point.
Well, that's what it says, with a total of 12 meetings per school year, accounting for holiday breaks.
It's a bi-weekly.
Every 2 weeks.
Oh, one.
But you have December
One
and spring
group,
break.
the
which
younger
is eat
kids
into
get a
that.
group 1 week, and then the following week, the older kids get it. So at each site, it's once a week, but it's a bi-weekly meeting per girl.
Do you have other questions based off of my question?
Oh, no, it just. But our other ones are too, and I think we just follow it and look and watch it and see how it goes. With our others is what but that's what I was going through. That's why it feels, well, okay, I'll ask, sorry. I wish, I like to ask my questions before the meetings and not like surprise you with questions. I don't like to do that.
I didn't really go deeper into this either.
But I hadn't realized that, as you shared the price number, I know that they see that they get the 30-foot mobile STEM center, but it feels like per meeting, it feels like a very high cost. So that's what I'm trying to understand. So help us know what you're getting out of each meeting.
So the twice a month meeting, all the girls would be getting their membership for Girl Scouts. They would be getting all the uniform pieces. It would include all the badge work. It includes all the materials and supplies. It includes the instruction. It includes the cost of the curriculum from Girl Scouts and the ongoing support.
Personnel?
And yes, it includes the personnel.
Okay. Let me follow up on that. So it seems like it's going to be crammed a little bit, the 12 meetings throughout the rest of the year. Was there any reason why we didn't do this at the beginning of the year? Or start it at the beginning of the year?
So during, I think, end of July, August, before school started, I met with the leader, the president of Girl Scouts, who brought this forward to see if there was interest in the district to providing Girl Scouts access to our students. And so once we said, yes, we would definitely be interested, then they went back to begin to design what that possibly could look like. So it was still, this is a good idea in August. So we weren't ready. We hadn't gone through any of what it would look like for when school started.
Okay, but we're still, to the point that I was making, we're kind of to Virginia's, we're in November now. So, I mean, there's not a template that was used at other locations that could have used to get this up and running quicker. So, I mean, I just feel like everybody's point, it's kind of in a truncated schedule, worrying about making sure that we get all the meetings held in the time frame promised. And, it is an expensive endeavor to be doing. But I guess, what happens if we can't make those meetings happen, is in the time frame promise. Like, is there the opportunity to recoup some of those funds or extend beyond into maybe a summer program or what have you?
Yeah, that's absolutely an option from my point of view, at least. I don't see a problem with having the 12 meetings. We have the staff in place. We have the schedule ready to go. And we've already been in communication with the sites. Like Ryan said, we're doing the outreach right now to educate the families. We've got the parent info night. And so I don't foresee any problems, but we could certainly have a conversation about extending it if we, for some reason, don't get the 12.
Do you guys have any other questions?
No, we're just doing the math, so it ends up being about $50 per girl, right, per session. And so we just have a question. So if we don't get that enrollment, could we renegotiate like camp or something like that? Or I guess we can. That's a different conversation.
Camps could it go towards camp or something like that for the girls?
Yeah, for the girl-driven decision, whatever.
I cannot say yes definitively without checking with my leadership, but I can certainly bring that back to them. And
yeah, in the spirit of girl-driven decision-making, and they have a budget that other people, just wondering.
And
is
Camp
running as part of
Menzies
the
is
process.
like very magical, so.
We're going to have girl-driven decision-making on the board.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, we are.
And I noticed that our labor leaders are also wearing green in the spirit of Girl Scouts.
They just
Oh,
like
yeah,
the
look at
cookies.
He's like, yeah.
All right. Okay, any other questions? All right. So with that, I heard Vice President Pizzotti moved. I believe it was Trustee Wong second. All right, and all those in favor?
Aye.
I too say aye. Let's have some Girl Scout cookies. All righty. And now moving on to our next one, approval of the out-of-state conference for community schools National Network Conference, December 10th through 11th, 2024 in Arlington, VA, Virginia. Go ahead.
And I am presenting this because Dr. Burns and Ms. Street could not be here this evening. So the team is requesting approval for our community schools designee, who would be June Flores, to attend the 2024 Conference on Full Service Community Schools. The conference will address key topics such as cradle to career, pipeline support, sustainability, data evaluation, family engagement, and allow us to learn what's happening with community schools at the national level. And then, as always, Ms. Flores would then bring back that learning and share that with the community school facilitators who support our 4 community schools. There is no financial impact for the district. The cost of attending the conference would be paid for by United Way.
Are there any public comments?
No public comments?
Any comments from the board? I do have one. But anybody else? So United Way is paying for this, but not from any of our community funds, right? That we're just making sure that that's.
So for the United Way, they hold the funding for the federal grant.
Right.
And so this is coming out of the pot of the federal grant for community schools.
Okay.
So it is coming from community schools funding because it is for the community schools conference, but
Got
it's coming out of the United Way's portion of the federal grant.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. That was my only question. Do I have a motion? I think I heard Vice President Pizzotti.
I moved.
Moved.
I did.
A second?
Seconded by Trustee Wong. All those in
I
favor?
moved Something was
Aye.
else.
Aye.
Aye.
I too say aye. It is
I
his
give
last meeting. He said, let's move it. All right, we're moving on to board governance regarding the annual organization meeting of school boards in December 2024. Dr. Hildreth.
Thank you, President Coffey. And so to make sure that we follow the ed code, the board is required to set a date for an annual organizational meeting, and it's got a certain 15-day window that all districts must follow in the state. And so that 15-day period for 2024 is to hold the meeting between December 13th and December 27th. Right now, when the board adopted our meeting calendar, we had selected December 12th for our board meeting. We had checked to see if it was going to be in that 15-day window with YCOE, and we were told it was, but then the window got changed. And so we need to align our board meeting date to fall into that window. And so there really are 2 options. We could do the next Thursday, just keeping our regular cadence of Thursday, December 19th, because the meeting will not be held here at City Hall because we have to change the date to an off week. So we have some flexibility. So we were thinking of Thursdays because that's when we have our board meetings. But in talking to some of the staff, especially those who might want to present like courses that have gone through Curriculum Council, the challenge was Thursday, December 19th is the last day for staff. So we could still have it as an option, but it does open it up to if we want to pick maybe Wednesday or Tuesday as the date, some flexibility because we will not have to align to the city council chambers as our, that really a lot of times is where we can have the meeting, but that allows us to have it either at the Bright campus or the NPR. So we can keep it at Thursday, the 19th, and just be very mindful of a wonderfully efficient, moving meeting on that day, knowing that for some, the holiday spirit is going to start. So I leave it up to the trustees who will be there and anyone else who might want to just raise their hand of availability.
And this is swearing in day, right?
Yeah,
This
it's
is a swearing in.
That's
This is a
not-
swearing in,
yes.
So we haven't yet taken public comments, so we should actually hear whether or not there are people who have conflicts.
But just a reminder that the annual organization, that part of the meeting is usually at 5:00.
Yeah.
And then we begin our regular meetings at 5:30. So that's just knowing that that portion of the meeting has historically started before 5:30, the swearing in process.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's still a day.
And I think that we've done Thursday meetings before backed up to breaks. And, you know, with the idea of, well, you don't want to change our time, the public knows it's on Thursdays, but we really didn't have people coming. And that's a really hard time to, I think, have a meeting, to me, is right before, I mean, people are headed out of town right when they're leaving that day.
About the 17th.
And you
So
don't
I
have
think
staff.
for sure it should be on a different day, not the Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'm open.
What about Tuesday, the 17th?
I'm free. I had to check my big girl
Are you making
calendar.
our schedule for us?
No, I am. I'm being your scheduler because I've got nothing else to do that day, and I'm not going to be here, so.
Yeah, I confirm, like, the teachers were concerned a little bit yesterday when we met with them, and then we have all the policy, so it's actually not going to be a very efficient meeting, and so it'd be really inconsiderate of us, I think, to have it on the 19th.
And can you remind us, it has to be after what date?
It has to be after the 15th, right?
It has to be starting, the window starts Friday, December 13th
Okay.
through December 27th.
I wonder if we should look, not that they do it for us, but we should see if there's maybe there's city council meeting that week.
Council meeting's the 18th, isn't it?
The chambers are only reserved to us the second and fourth Thursdays. I can certainly follow up with the city clerk to see, but
I don't think we need to be here. I was just thinking, on our end, we try to be considerate if people want to show up to like both meetings. Like
It's
not having
swearing in. It should be done here. I mean, just like from, that's what my perspective is. This is kind of a big deal to people, right?
Oh.
Like, I
I don't
think
know.
this is,
During COVID was my
it's
living
kind
room.
of legit.
That's true.
That's right. It's better than your living room by your wife.
remember-
Right? And by my fire cabinet.
I'm still trying to get
Whether
a
or not I
public
was wearing
comment.
shoes, I'm not sure.
So we can hear the voices
Yeah,
of those
get up
that
there.
are going to be.
So let's pick a date and see what's available. I don't, Thursday.
Right, so
clearly,
we
yeah.
could, we are definitely always open to having it here at our council chambers. It's just, we cannot verify that availability tonight. We would have to
Yeah. we
reach
don't
out to
know.
determine.
We just don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
we just don't know
Just don't
if
know.
it's available.
We have some.
Can I just throw my input in? It is a big deal, and I do want to be here, and I have a very large family and people that do want to support because I wasn't able to run an actual campaign. So it is, for me, important to be able to have my family and
100%.
And
come on,
I'm
sing.
flexible with whatever day, to be completely honest, because it's December and things.
And you'll fill out a public comment chart.
Yeah, go
later.
fill
I'm
out
just
the-
joking.
go fill
We're
out
just
the
joking.
form.
We're just joking.
Whatever you guys want.
Like-
But yeah.
I'll step down right now.
Stop
I'm right now. Come on.
it. He's ready to go. Okay.
I know, it's like, do we have a celebration here?
Yeah.
So
I think the 17th makes the most sense,
Let's-
assuming they have council on Wednesdays, so
Yeah.
this should be available.
It didn't look like. I looked
Or
it up.
any
and
other, like-
It doesn't look like they have any commission meetings or
On that
city
day.
council or anything that week.
on that day?
There-
Or
That
all-
week.
That week? at
They
all?
have a planning commission meeting December 19th.
Oh,
Okay.
That's from 6 to 8 in the chambers.
Well, we don't want
So
the
we wouldn't have
19th
been able to
anyway.
do it
Oh,
here.
okay, I'm looking
Yeah.
at As of now, Tuesday, the 17th, the chambers are not reserved on their website, so I can ask.
Good, let's
Let's
do
see
it.
if we can ask for the 17th.
Let's do the 17th.
I can ask City Clerk Jennifer to see if that's an option for us. Hopefully it is.
Is there another day as a backup? Like, could Monday be a backup or?
The 16th is also not, the show's nothing reserved, so if you guys
So
want
let's
to
do the 16th or the 17th.
I cannot ask for both.
Yeah.
The clerk.
Well, the challenge is at this meeting, we have to publicly say the date
Oh, yes, yeah.
of the meeting by the guys.
Notify a date, so it's in
Well,
public.
that's not a possible task. Can you call them?
Then, let's just do 17th.
Okay, do we have them on speed dial?
I don't know if Jennifer's working right now, but.
Call Aaron. Call Aaron. You gotta.
But
Okay,
but
fine.
Yes.
All right, well, how about this?
The 17th, because we do have to tell the
Yes, it's,
YCOE.
the board, the date and time of the annual meeting shall be selected by the board at its regular meeting held immediately prior to
this
December
one?
13th. And we shall notify the county superintendent of schools of the date and time selected. So
So it's
it's
this
a
one.
process. So
Okay.
this is the meeting
this is
before
the
that
meeting to
meeting.
have
Well,
that meeting.
technically, not that any of you want to do this, but December 12th is scheduled as a regular board meeting. We
But
could
it's-
show up and tell the date and be in compliance and then leave.
Oh, my
So I
gosh.
guess you could have a board meeting yet a governing.
I'm
but,
just saying that is a
Did we
regularly
put
scheduled
it-
board meeting, so if it cannot be
So-
on the date we're going to say today, Tuesday
So-
at 5, we could show up here, announce the date.
So how does that work with Kobe now? Like, do the three of us, like, how does it even work?
Are you kidding me? I gotta be here for one more meeting?
And I'm not sure if you legally
We have
can.
three
Like, there's
votes.
like,
You
do you and
can't.
Al, like, are you guys?
No,
like,
they're
certified?
legally here until
I'm here
until they
until
can
the
get
12th.
sworn out. It's-
I get one more
So you're
measly-
still with him
measly paycheck.
until they, any board business. you have
No,
to
I
pay.
mean,
So-
honestly, yeah.
So seriously, we have a 12th meeting?
Yeah, we
scheduled?
currently
That's
have.
what-
So
The
that's
date
where-
is the 12th.
The date originally is the 12th, but
Okay.
because of they have so many days after,
Yeah.
So could you do Friday the 13th as a swearing in?
that won't work for some of our,
It's Kwanzaa.
We have the
It's River City
Kwanzaa family annual celebration is Friday the
So
13th.
I would
Wasn't
just say,
advocating
but
for
you know
that.
what, why are we not just sticking to the 17th then?
yeah, I think,
Let's just stick to the
17th is
17th. Like, with
Tuesday.
the-
We
yeah,
don't
it
know
gives
for
it gives
sure if
staff
this
a
is
day
available.
between all the things.
well, based
It
off
doesn't
of
matter.
what,
Like,
based
we have
off
to-
of what Mario was able to, find out as his detective skills, his side hustle, he was able to see that there was not booked. So let's hope that they will be able to accommodate us on the 17th and
At 5 p.m.
at 5 p.m. And then we'll have our next regularly scheduled board meeting at 5:30.
Yeah, and be good for a new trustee sworn in to
Yeah,
take care
it's
of
Or
really-
at
business.
least for have the swearing in ceremony here, and if we needed to, you could potentially bifurcate it and say, hey, we're gonna do a swearing in ceremony
Too much.
here.
That's a
from
lot.
5
That's too.
It is, but I think it's important. Like, I think it's, personally, it was one of the things I cherished most about my time on the board.
And I'm in
Sorry, my
agreement,
family
and
here.
as long as city chamber, it's really about city chambers availability.
Yeah.
That is really going to be the determining
Yeah,
factor
it doesn't
of
matter.
where we have that swearing in, and we'll make sure when we reach out to share how important this is. It only happens every 2 years, so hopefully the city council staff will agree and allow us to use it on that Tuesday. And, it's available, and it's making sure that their tech, all the people who support running this are available.
That's true. Are you here?
We are putting it out there.
And I
Please.
appreciate the fact that, well, technically, we still have the 12th, so if it doesn't work out, we can actually have people come back.
I think that's a
Like, if the
fair conversation
17th does not work, we're saying it's the 17th.
Yes. We just be legally compliant. I'm not
We-
saying we should
we
do it,
just-
but it's a good backup.
That we then, if it's not available, we come back and we vote for another day, and you tell us, you tell us what's available.
So what you're telling me is that we are going to keep the 12th on our calendar in case the 17th isn't, is that even?
It has to be a
I don't
regular, it
think
has
you
to be
can
a
do that.
regular meeting.
Yes, we can.
has to be it's published.
here on the
It's
website.
technically a.
Oh, I know,
But then
but what I'm
legally we
saying
can't.
is,
But then legally we can't do this one because it has to be at the one right before.
Well, we
so,
cancel it and then it is the one right before.
This doesn't make any
So we
sense to
can't
me.
cancel it. Like it.
Yes, we
Where's
can.
Marie
We
when
can
we need
cancel-
her?
we can
Can you call-
cancel-
can you actually
We're
call Marie?
canceling the 12th.
Let's just do the
We can
17th.
cancel
Let's
the
do the
12th.
17th and knock on wood that it's going to be there.
It will be because the city wants to work with us very, very closely. And so they're hearing us out. So we're going to cancel the 12th.
Not that we're negotiating.
And remember, we
other
have closed
many
session to go
issues
back
we are
with
into.
the city.
And we are going to have it on the
Closed session back
17th. And we are
I
going
think
to
we
work with
call
them,
Marie. Can
and
we
we're
call
going to
Marie?
ask them very nicely if they will allow us to use their chambers for the 17th, because we really want to do this right for our new trustees and the ones that are, coming.
We do want to talk to legal counsel, so maybe can we table until after closed session? Maybe talk to attorney about never mind,
What?
17th. We'll do 17th.
I don't think.
17th it is.
So just to
17th.
confirm, we're securing December 17th for the annual organizational meeting with the regular board meeting following that meeting.
Yes.
Correct.
And we're
So-
canceling the
and we
regular.
are-
We're
scheduled one in
canceling the
12.
regularly scheduled board meeting on
You don't
December
necessarily
12th.
have
And so that way I can,
But that's
to be safe.
the conundrum.
that way because the clerk will have to sign off on the certification of the meeting. So that way I can have Clerk Kirby Gonzalez sign off on it when need be. So.
Yes, I am under the impression that we, my team, my fellow trustees, OMG. So, are we in agreement that we are going to cancel the 12th?
I don't think we never have, we just leave it there and we.
I don't know if legally. If it's on there, wouldn't people show up if we still leave it?
Correct.
So,
Well, aren't we going to have an answer for this,
we will, because we're doing this on-
tomorrow? So I think
Yes.
that, then we can this can be cleaned up quickly.
Okay.
So Marie said you really messed up. You should have canceled or not canceled.
We'll have council and city tomorrow with intent.
Securing
being able to know for
the
sure
location.
the date and
But the date we have to say here is the 17th.
Yes.
So, okay, so we're saying the 17th. We're good.
But we're not necessarily canceling the 12th.
But we're not canceling the 12th? I want to cancel the 12th.
I know we want to, but until
you-
we
can you
know
read
an
the
answer
statute again for
sure,
us?
how do you do that?
thought this is how we're voting.
Dr. Hildreth, read the statute again.
I don't know.
Just read the statute again.
Okay. Under the provisions of Ed Code 35143, WUSD's governing board is required to set an annual organization meeting within a 15-day period that commences with the date upon which a governing board member elected at that election takes office. Organizational meetings in years in which no such regular election for governing board members is conducted shall be held during the same 15-day period on the calendar. That 15-day period for 2024 is December 13th, 2024 to December 27th, 2024. Unless otherwise provided by rules of the governing board, the date and time of the annual meeting shall be selected by the board at its regular meeting held immediately prior to December 13th, 2024, and the board shall notify the county superintendent of schools of the date and time selected. The clerk of the board shall, within 15 days prior to the date of the annual meeting, notify in writing all members of the date and time selected for the meeting. Every school district governing board consisting of 5 or more members shall, at each annual meeting, elect a president and a clerk from among its members. Ed Code 35022 and 35143.
Okay, so that didn't say swearing in anywhere. So what that's saying is just you got to select a president, vice president, and clerk anytime after the 13th. You can have swearing in on the 12th. You can have your swearing in on the 12th and then find an organizational time anytime after that. That's how you do it. Yeah. I mean, you just got to show up for one more meeting otherwise.
You know what? Clearly, we need legal counsel, but I like, and so clearly Marie should not have left, quite frankly, and we probably should have asked her while she was here. However, I'm okay with canceling just to see, I'm going to knock on wood to your point, President Coffey, that it's going to be available to us on the 17th.
It's called manifestation.
Yeah.
I'm manifesting
Because I
it.
think this is just, yeah, let's.
Plus, it's my son's birthday on the 12th, and I've already missed my daughter's. Hey, he's turning 12. He's turning 12 on December 12th.
There is the truth.
And there's why
I tried to have you. I tried to have you.
Hey, it's not just
Cancel
mine,
it.
it's also Vanessa's.
I know. I tried to have you. I'm trying to say, like, let's just cancel. This will be the regularly scheduled board meeting before, and then we'll.
Well, I mean, based off of what it
Could
said
have your
also.
son swear you in on the 12th.
And
It's his
also
birthday.
said, didn't it also say that it needed to be stated immediately? Correct. So this is the one that's happening before. Yes. So if we have another scheduled board meeting on the 12th, then we would have to do it then, which is not what we're trying to do. So
Not a lot of-
let's go ahead and have it for the 17th, manifesting it, 17th, 5 o'clock, and then followed by our regular board meeting at 5:30. We good?
I got it. Ready to
Great.
send the
That's between
information
you all
to
three.
Superintendent Lewis.
Why are you fighting us?
I'm not. I'm advocating for the crowd.
There we go. Okay, so we're good. Mario, do you have your direction?
The board has selected Tuesday, December 17th for its annual organizational meeting, with the regular board meeting following at 5:30 on the same date. I'm not putting this in the minutes, but I will check with the clerk to confirm that the chambers are indeed available. As soon as I hear back, I will reach out to the board with an update. And we are canceling
And we are
December 12th.
canceling the 12th. Thank you. Okay, great. We're good?
We're good.
Perfect. And now on to our board and superintendent comments. Dr. Hildreth.
Thank you. We're getting ready to start the official season of gratitude with Thanksgiving. And so I'm just going to share my heartfelt appreciation to all of our district employees, our parents, our guardians, our students, and WESAC community for all that you do for the success of your schools. As always, I'm grateful for an increase in positive collaboration with our labor partners, and just as it's been highlighted today, being able to get proposals done in like 3 weeks, both. It's been a lot of conversation, but it's been good conversation, so appreciate just the way we work together, and looking forward to continuing that. Highlighting some things that have happened in the district. We had our district-wide Dia de los Muertos celebrations, and it was such a success, and seeing the events that honored cultural traditions and a sense of community and inclusivity across our schools. There was creativity, enthusiasm by our students, and I want to thank our Student Leadership and Empowerment Coordinator, June Flores, and all of the leadership teachers, the MECHA teachers, and the clubs at River City High School who supported those efforts. Last week was Parent Conference Week, and so we had a highly successful Parent Conference Week, which allowed engagement between our teachers and families and reinforced the commitment to homeschool partnerships. And these conversations are really crucial in supporting our students' academic and personal growth. So thank you to our staff and families for that support. As highlighted in our school's presentation, I want to shout out the River City High School varsity boys and girls water polo programs because of their claiming the league championship titles, which we know was such a great achievement for those scholar athletes. We have some upcoming events I want to highlight. Our River City Regiment Community Showcase is happening tomorrow night, the 15th, at Raider Stadium. The gates open at 7 p.m. and the show starts at 7:30. And it's a great opportunity to see our talented students' final performances for the 2024 season, and the seniors in the regiment will also be acknowledged. Then on Saturday, the WUSD is hosting Family Empowerment Cultural Day together with Yolo County Health and Human Services and many more community partners at Riverbank from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. The event will feature resources for families such as food giveaways. There will be support in enrolling in dental and healthcare services, information on how to stay well in healthcare, employment resources to get a job, and civil rights information to overcome discrimination. Attendees are encouraged to wear their cultural dress, so we hope everyone who is able comes to join a fun-filled day in support of our community. And then on Tuesday, November 14th, the district is hosting a parent information session with YOLO Cares on managing grief and loss during the holidays. It will be held at River City High School in the Raider Cafe from 5 to 6 p.m. If you're interested in attending, please look for the sign-up form on our website and social media pages. You know, we know that the holidays bring out of a lot of emotions, and we're here to provide support for not only our students, but for the whole family in our community. So just want to make sure we highlight that. And that's almost all I have for this evening. Mario, I have one thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
I want to take this opportunity to thank Vice President Kobe Pizzotti with this plaque and a little gavel. Your guidance and direction as a board member has strengthened the bond between the community and the school. Your dedication has enriched the lives of students and inspires all of us. Kobe Pizzotti, and I just want to say thank you. When I joined the district in January of 2021, in the middle of the pandemic, I met everybody on Zoom, and the president at the time was Kobe Pizzotti. And you really just helped me understand the culture of the district. You helped me understand the wonderful staff that we have. You helped me understand the importance of building relationships. You helped me through crisis when we would be calling each other on weekends as we prepared for board meetings that ended at 1, 2 in the morning, and I would go, "What is this?" And you're like, "No, it's not like this all the time." It really is a great place. But your dedication to the district, your willingness to sacrifice your time with your family for 8 years is such, 9 years is such, people do not understand how much more goes into this role than the second and fourth Thursday of each month. The conversations that we have, the back and forth, just understanding, and you sharing history, you sharing perspectives, you sharing information. It has really been such an honor for me to begin my role in a district that I love, and I know that you love it too, with you. So I thank you so much. So this is just a little token for you to remember me and Mario and Yorgos and Shay and Autrey and Monique and the rest of the district who are so grateful for your leadership and your sacrifice.
It's a baby gavel.
It doesn't have the same effect. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Aww. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Trustee Wong.
Yeah, no, how do you follow that?
Gavel too?
Not yet. Baby gavel. I'll start and I'll end with the thank you and the notes. I wanted to provide a few updates. I didn't realize we actually had a lot of subcommittees this week. So I'll start, or this between the last time we met and now, is that we did meet with the county 2 by 2, highlighting the issues of Prop 1, and they are likely losing funding for mental health services for children, because prevention and how it kind of has a stronger focus on adults and the unhoused population, that they were very honest about the likelihood of losing funding for children as a preventative strategy. That said, we did ask, well, the school mental health services is still intact. Yep, that's still intact. The EPSDT is still intact. That those are still efforts that we probably should kind of think a little bit more about and become more robust as we think about community schools and keeping, again, how do we draw down more of those dollars, even though I said earlier, like, it's still a Fed dollar, so I don't even know, we have no idea what happens with the Fed. There's so much in our community that is tied to a federal dollar. That it's really just concerning. But however, they were very honest about that. We did raise the issue of, Vice President Pizzatti, you asked about the clinic, and we, I don't think they were prepared to talk about that. However, we had a really good discussion, and I know that President Coffey will raise this, of mobile clinics and the possible kind of satellite clinics. Is that something that we could do, as we think about march towards a school-based health center or something like that? So they were not, wanted to kind of explore what a school-based health center would look like. There was excitement about that. And so really, I felt like fairly fruitful conversation. The other meetings, we also had a policy. Was it me and you in Virginia, all 3 meetings?
Yeah.
Okay. So, so we had a policy subcommittee meeting where thank you so much for marching through the policy development Virginia process. I know you learned a lot. As part of that update, we did raise the issue of sports and heats and the CIF rule around when you could practice or not. And so I know that staff are going to explore that a little bit more. I'm glad that the water polo team won regardless of that. So I know that that was raised as an issue. So more to come on that. We talked about TK and the need to update our language. Thank you, Kirby Gonzalez, on that. So we'll unpack that a little bit, and a couple of other HR board policies and regulations. And lastly, I think we had our last pass at the mobile communications, like that will come back to us on that. Yesterday, we had our curriculum committee where we will see this again, AP Pre-Calculus, AP Human Exploration. It's not what you think. It's really about the cultures around the world.
Human geography.
What?
It's human geography.
Human geography. Human geography. It's more like a pre-sociology course that is an AP course that's available primarily targeted towards freshmen, which is amazing, increasing our opportunity to provide AP courses to all our students, which was part of our equity plan that we tried. We kind of, again, that was a goal, so really good to see that in fruition. Mariachi class, so really excited about what that looks like for our district to be. And just again, I was talking to somebody about, like, they asked me how was curriculum. Like, it's actually one of the, as a nerd, like it's like one of the best. All due to policy and 2x2s, but you get to see the teachers craft new courses, and you see like their craft, and you see what they want for our students, and it's just so empowering in a different way, right? Like that, I felt that way about the math curriculum, the English, the English adoption that we talked about yesterday. That it's like, where the rubber hits the road, right? And so, all due respect to all subcommittees, but it is really, you understand this because as both of you who are curriculum experts, right, all of you, that is really good to see kind of like their shining in their moment of their craft and their subject. I feel like I'm missing another course that we're going to be seeing. But Virginia, you will remember it.
Avid Plus.
Oh, and Avid. So Avid Plus. So those students who want to take Avid for the full year. And again, I know that there's been conversations like, what is this district? Again, we talk about equity, but what are we doing for the children, our students who need to be a challenge? And this was the entire conversation. I felt like that we are, and we don't talk about it enough. And just really proud of the work that the curriculum committee has been doing in our district. I got to actually attend Sue Heredia's. She's an Natomas Unified School District's board member after 24 years. Her retirement from NUSD, and if anybody knows who Dr. Heredia is, she actually did her PhD in Elkhorn. And that's how we actually talked about our DI programs and our English language learner program. So she has a special place. She did steal some of our students. some of our teachers over to her dual immersion school, but we won't hold that against her. But a lot of our really best teachers have been trained by Sue, and they're still here and they're dedicated. Stacy Tran is one of them. She's not in the audience. You are one of them. There's so many Washington Unified, like just dedicated folks who have been seeded and poured into because of Dr. Heredia, and she acknowledged that last night. And just really grateful for kind of the Cross the River collaboration. And I just, every time I talk to one of our teachers, like, oh, you were a Heredia trained. And she taught, or she encouraged them to love and pour into our communities. And so I was really blessed and honored to be invited to her last school board meeting last night. And I talked a lot about the federal government. It was mixed, I'll be honest with you, a couple of Tuesdays ago, and the trickles of things that are coming out. The fear that I've heard from our students and our families, the concerns I have about education and public education. These are all things that our kids are feeling, and the division that keeps on being deepened. And I want us to work as a new board, as a current board. I hear from the audience, thank you from the public, of saying that we need to stop trolling or bullying or really feeding into negative talk because our kids are watching. Our kids are absolutely watching, so how can we be better? How can we bring forth unity? I'll just say this, that I would like us to bring back up our safe haven resolution that that we had adopted, that I had brought forth in 2016. It just felt too reminiscent. For some reason, every time I get passed onto this board, somehow this happens. But if we can raise that up again as a reminder for our new board members that we did pass a resolution on safe haven and all those legal protocols, that we send that message out to our families who, I'll be honest with you, like probably really, really terrified. My family's terrified. My extended family's terrified. And I know that our students are those who I've been able to talk to, and that they know that school is a safe place, that they can love and learn, live, love, and learn. Our immigrant population for sure, but also our trans and queer LGBTQIA students, our students of color who are just hurting. Our students are hurting, and we're not acknowledging that in a really meaningful way. We've gotten a lot of public comments about rise in hate speech because of the environment, and we just need to acknowledge that. And so I want to raise that up and bring that back again. And so tonight is, Al, you're out there. You probably won't watch this, but I'm just joking. Want to first thank Al for his last 4 years. I know that he clearly is a busy person, juggling a lot, and so thank you for his service over the last 4 years online. And then Vice President Pizzotti. We've served together for 8 years. We've ran on every ballot except this one for the last 3. And so as part of democracy, we don't always have to agree. And that is the beauty of democracy, that we get to have differing opinions. We get to talk, and at the end of the day, be able to walk away and respect each other where they sit. Right? And we own the decisions of our board together, regardless of where the vote lands. And that has always been the case, right? No matter if you are the single vote out or the unanimous vote, that is what we believe we know as governance and unity on this board, right? Despite what the public sees and feels, the truth is, like, we all walk away knowing that the decision was a decision of the board, and we honor that, right? And I have respected that. You have been such a champion for our children in your way, right? And their safety and their well-being and their emotions. And it is at great sacrifice. We all know that. We know that personally here, but I know for you personally too. We all have made career choices that have put us in this situation too, that people don't see that behind the scenes. And so I thank you for your service and your dedication and your passion and your commitment to our students. So thank you. All right.
Thank you. Clerk Kirby Gonzalez.
I feel like I need a breath before it was. A lot of important, yeah, you did say, I have the Safe Haven pulled up right here on my computer. Yeah, I appreciate that. First, I'll share our business update. And so we did have our 2x2 meeting that was with our city council that we had here. And Vice President Pizzotti and I attended, and we talked about, a bulk of the time was spent on the roadmap to the future for Yolo County Office of Education. So they came out and shared the work that they had done in our community as well as the whole county to make this roadmap of work to be done. You can find it on their website. It is quite thick. I meant to bring my copy, but it's still on my office desk. And so they talked about also doing a presentation here in front of the board so that you would have a taste of that as well, and the public would see the work that is happening there. We had our follow-up on the Bright Park Master Plan. A couple of things with that. One, their last meeting was on community meeting for the Bright Park Master Plan was on a school board meeting night. They're having another meeting tonight. And we talked to them about that and addressed that there's many reasons why we should take into account a school board meeting when you're planning your meetings that have to do, with important community feedback. We saw lots of, Riverbank staff here tonight who work right next door and, who are impacted by this work too. And so having families be conflicted of going to that meeting versus here is not really a good, we want to be a partner and to help get people there. And I know that President Coffey is a parent and a neighbor of that park, and I know would have liked to be there. So we did talk about that, and they took it into account and acknowledged that they had not been looking at the dates and they would moving forward. The other piece we talked about, we brought up that they had also gotten community feedback, as was shared about, and for the public who doesn't know, Washington Unified does own the property of Bright Park. We do have an agreement currently with the city, an MOU with them on many properties across the district, where they've maintained the park property for years. And then they currently have worked to utilize a grant that will come to us, though, so that they could purchase the property, which would be in many ways a great thing for the district in that I think we want, and the community wants it to be a park in perpetuity, meaning that it's not going to go to a developer, it's not going to become houses, it's not going to be changed from Bright Park, and this would be maybe a way to do that, and also have the district recoup funds for the work. So some of the things, though, that we brought up, and that will come to this board too, were, for example, President Coffey, who talked about the running path that a lot of people like to use there. They talked about how they had heard that feedback, and they were working on some mile markers along the way. For the path, we talked about the line of sight. If we have students out utilizing the space, will the trees be blocking students? Will staff see? So we talked about quite a few things, but really I think where we landed that was important is that they will be working with our Riverbank staff and together be going to the site and walking through before it comes to us. So we know that the people who are working every day who might be using that space, as well as Kids Zone, will have input on that too. Okay. And then that was all for that. We'll be meeting again February 3rd. The other piece that I wanted to share, I really appreciate the parent conferences. Not everywhere has parent conferences like in middle school. And so I just feel so blessed. I work at a middle school and they don't have parent conferences. And so to get to come and sit in my daughter's, 8th grade conferences and get to connect with the teachers is just a really, really nice gift. We're really lucky to have that. And I appreciate the teachers for all of their time. It takes a lot of work to put all that together. And it also takes a lot of brain power, when you just have to be on. You're on, of course, all day for your kids, but it's a different kind of on when you're on for your kids and their parents over and over all those conferences. So I just want to give a shout out to them because it is really appreciated. And I know it's a lot of work. The piece that we have heard, and we had many public comments that were written in, the public didn't hear them tonight, but they will be in the record, and we all read them, and they did address safety, specifically at River City High School, and hate speech. And I do think that, and I know that we have a pulse on in terms of we need to address this and we need to move forward to ensure that our students and our staff are safe, not only at River City, of course, at all of our schools, but know that those concerns are heard and they're taken seriously, and that we need to work on next steps to address those. We do have, as Trustee Wong pointed out, the Safe Haven Resolution, and I think it's number 1617-21, and we can relook at updating that as well, but I do think that something should probably go out to our families, and there should be a statement to staff too about what can they say to put kids at ease when they're anxious and nervous about this. For example, the school where I work has 20% of our students who are immigrants, and so I feel this very much too. I see kids who are nervous in that space, and I see it here in Washington Unified. And for example, schools do not give your documentation status. We do not ask for that, and we don't give it over to anyone. You are protected when you step onto these campuses, and I think we need to make sure to assure our families of that too, that their information is protected and safe with us. Okay. Congratulations to Trustee Wong on her election. Okay, unofficially, I think it's safe to say congratulations. Welcome, Vanessa Castro and Patrice and Jeanette. I know they're not official yet, but thank you both for all that you do every single day in our schools. Thank you for everything that you do for kids and for stepping up to run. I know it's a lot of work, and you both can be really, really proud of that work, and I look forward to serving with one of you up here soon. And then, of course, to Trustee Venegas, who's not with us tonight, but has given his time to serve. And now for Vice President Pizzotti. For those that don't know, 9 years ago, there was an all-female board here, which there will be again soon, actually. And we had an appointment process. And in that appointment process, myself, Norma Acala, Alicia Cruz, Katie Villegas, appointed Kobe Pizzotti in that meeting, and he joined, so we got a dad on the board. And in that time, since 2015, I did some quick math of like counting up special regular meetings. You know, I like to kind of spend a lot of time doing nerdy things. And I got 288 meetings that I think you've served over that time, 288 meetings. And of course, it's not just the meetings, it's the preparation for the meetings and the time and the thought. And I don't even know how many action items that all is as we go through. For that, you know, $264 a month before tax. And I want to thank you for bringing a perspective that is important to listen to and hear. You've been open about having dyslexia. You've been open about having diagnosis later in life. You've been open about for our kids who's struggling with 504s and IEPs, and really made sure that we keep our kids at the forefront, but our whole child at the forefront too. And so I want to thank you for that work that you've done. It's a long time, 9 years, to be here and to give up that time. So you'll have to tell us what it's like now to be home with that time. I don't think, though, in my time anyways, we've never ended a board meeting with a toast. And we are in City Hall, and I am a rule follower. So it is cider, sparkling cider. But I'm going to open some sparkling cider. Unfortunately, it's anticlimactic because after we do a toast, we get to go back into closed session. But as you do your comments, I will pour some the board some sparkling cider and others who'd like some, and we'll do a toast at the end.
All right, Vice President.
Okay, this is going to be tough. All right, first let me say, I just want to congratulate the wrestling team and how it's grown over the years since I've been on the board. When I first started, we only had 1 or 2 girls that were on the wrestling team. They were on the boys wrestling team. Now we have our own separate wrestling program for the girls, and there's now 19 girls on that team. That makes me, as girl dad, right? Makes me super thrilled to see it. As a former wrestler myself, I'm excited to see how this is expanding. And even our wrestling program for the boys is now expanded to like 44 members. So I'm super thrilled about what is happening and how the growth of some of our athletics are growing and what they're doing. And I know I've brought this up to Dr. H, but one thing that I would love to see happen is sometimes we have meets on Saturdays that would require transportation, and I would really appreciate somehow, some way, we could use vans that are sitting in our yard and not being utilized by staff or by anybody, and don't take a special license to drive. If there's anything that we need to do in order to get our coaches eligible to drive them, in order to get our kids, because not all the parents can dedicate that time on a weekend to get their kid to a meet. And I know that would have been beneficial to have when I was wrestling in high school, because I always had to hitch a ride with somebody, and it would be certainly beneficial to our kids in our district. So that's one thing I'd just like to throw it out there. Okay. So as we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, one of the biggest thrills of my life was being sworn in, and doing it in this chamber, because it meant so much to me. From where I came from, I grew up in pretty abject poverty. Had, abuse and addiction in my family. To see me where I am now, and to sit up here on a dais with people that I respect and cherish, means a lot. Also, going through the struggles of, a learning disability, and then, finding out even later than that about my ADHD makes sense, right? Some of those things, thank you, Doug, you helped with that. Some of those things really kind of put things in a perspective for me, and really made me advocate for certain things. And now I'm very proud that we've gone down a path even further than the state did, and before the state did, in terms of our dyslexia screening. Prior to it being in the state budget, we started that here first. I'm super proud of that. I want to, the Measure Z bond, that started long before, the process and the journey on that started long before we actually ever got it onto the ballot. It started several years before that, when we had conversations and we initially ran a poll, and the poll said, hey, you know what? It's not time. We can't get it passed. But then we kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and the next thing you know, we got two new renovations and a performing arts center in the pipe. Can't tell you how proud I am of that. Our kids deserve it. Buildings were 70 plus years old and falling apart. They needed that. And it just shows the kids in that community that they deserve to be in a new school. They deserve the best. There's so much that I am so proud of. And And to Jackie's point, you're right. I don't always agree, but I always respect the decisions that are made. And, you know, one thing that I took very seriously was, and I took to heart, decisions are made by those who show up. And to your point, Sarah, 288 meetings. I missed one complete meeting because it was my anniversary. And the other, I only missed part of it because I had COVID. But I was there for the swearing in and the reorganizational part. Other than that, I couldn't be there for the other part because I had to be on virtual. So technically 1.5.
But who's counting?
Right.
Oh, wait, she is.
Right. And I remember those meetings when COVID happened. And Cheryl, I appreciate all the frank conversations we had to have and to get to know a district in a time that was just not showing its best self. You know, it wasn't the district that I knew. It wasn't the district that I had loved and volunteered to serve on. And it, you know, quite frankly, it was showing its butt. I could say other things. And when I was president, there was a number of occasions when I wanted to do a rant and mic drop and walk off because I was that frustrated with what people were saying, especially about our teachers and our classified staff. And that just really pissed me off. And sometimes I get very fired up about how some people in our community treat staff and how even sometimes, you know, our own, you know, management sometimes treats staff and sometimes how our staff treat management. Like, I get very emotional about that because I'm in the business of labor representation. And one thing I can say proudly is from where we were as a district, and I've been part of this in terms of the raises that we were able to give our teachers and our classified staff over my 9 years, is nearly 30%. That's, you know, may not seem like a lot, but it's something, right? And from the minute I walked on the board, we were at nearly a strike. We were at impasse. And it was an ugly time. But where we are now, and now we're even talking and going through interest-based bargaining, right? I've advocated for that for a long time, Daniel.
Let me take a pause.
I'm just going to say I'm good. I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to the cabinet. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Yorgos. I do appreciate all of you.
And with that, I'd like to move to extend our time past 10 o'clock. Well, then I have to go. We have to go to report.
I second.
Thank you for seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm done.
Are you sure?
Well, I'll say no, and then I'll just.
Oh, well, first off, you mentioned the wrestling team. This is going to be my first time being a wrestling mom.
Nice.
I've been a football mom. I've been a cheer mom. I've been a baseball mom. I've been a soccer mom. I've been a lot of different types of moms. And now I'm going to be a wrestling mom, and I don't know the lingo, but I heard circle, 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 and some other stuff. So I'm gonna get myself acquainted. But yes, I've heard the bands is something that they would like to use if at all possible. So definitely gonna follow up on that even when you're not here. All right. So I got you. So definitely talk to. I know you mentioned a lot, all of these subcommittee meetings. Right, you really did, and I'm thankful. But it was like the intermittent clinic. So that was, so it was like, not a satellite, it's okay, but an intermittent clinic like that, like subparts from an FQHC, federally qualified health clinic or health center. Definitely the curriculum, that was a highlight. The AP Human Geography, I showed that to my son and he was like, okay, Olivia, like he went to her and was like, you're going to be a freshman next year. I'm expecting you to take this class and you're supposed to report out to me because I'm not going to be able to take it. He goes, are you sure? Like, I really can't take it? I said, nope, it's for freshmen. It's like, man, okay, sis, I really need you to like report back because this is all me. This is all my jam. So I'm excited about that. Thank you for letting me know about the city Bright Park master plan. That is definitely the park that I grew up with. So for me to not be at that meeting and not be able to advocate and trying my best, I'm glad to hear that Riverbank is going to have a voice in what's going to be happening. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Talking about SROs and with the community engagement, I would like to start seeing a calendar of dates of possible town hall meetings, if at all possible. Like, okay, we may not have started that conversation with West Sac PD, or maybe we have, or we haven't finalized it. That's all right. But get the community involved, since that's what we said. So if we can have by next, by December, a good tentative calendar of when we would start having these town halls or community discussions and talks at certain sites, that if we can start having that, that would be great. Because it's really important, as we've been saying, to get our community involved. It is their voice. It's going to be their kids in these at the sites, and we want to make sure that they're on board with it. I've been hearing the public comments in regards to the new vice principal at River City. Yeah, I've actually heard a lot about Dr. V and how she's essential, how she makes it a better environment, how she's holding people accountable, how she's not like everybody else, and how she is needed and is such a pivotal role at the high school. And she supports the staff that are there, that are doing the enforcement. So I'm so glad that people came and made those public comments, because oftentimes individuals who are new and who are not like the others, and just let me get away with it this one time, but holding others accountable is not always looked at highly. So to hear that if that's what's happening at our school is definitely it's really great to hear. In addition, hearing about our new VPs, hearing that our new teachers are needing that support. Yeah, they are diamonds in the rough, as President Knapp said, giving them that support. I remember being a new teacher. It's hard. You don't know what you're doing, and you only know what you're supposed to know based off of the teaching and the education that you've had, but you haven't really had a classroom except for your student teaching. But your teacher was there to watch you, to make sure you didn't mess up. So you had that constant guidance in the classroom, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into a pack of wolves with a bunch of kids that you're like expected to teach, and you're told at the same time that there's standards and other things, and you're like, okay, how am I supposed to breathe? And just making sure that they have that reassurance is really important. So not that they need to be micromanaged, but they definitely need that support. So reminding our admin to give them that support. Hearing about Westfield, yeah, we were giving I would like to call it a private tour on the day of the opening, and we were shown some of these areas that were brought up, and so it was brought to our attention then. I'm not sure what exactly the plan is to kind of remediate that. So if we can also find out, what are the steps that we're taking? How much does it cost to make these adjustments? Or we're looking at certain contracts or certain people to do all of those, whatever it is, just so we know that we're keeping a pulse on those things, because we do know that there are a lot of things that we didn't anticipate when making this beautiful campus. And like anything, once you finally put in the beautiful model, you're like, oh, I wish I would have done something a little different. And maybe I don't like that color as much, or that tile as much as I thought I'd like it, or whatever. I haven't remodeled a house in a really long time. As far as Aries and the updates and the changes that of like the notes and the access, I know in certain databases within the state, once you enter something, you can't go back and make any modifications because it's like a live, living, breathing document. If Aries allows others to go in and, I don't want to say corrupt because that's not the word, but make modifications to what is being said, I can see that being a big issue. If there is somebody who's going to go and make changes, then that person it should actually be another note modifying the note that was previously written as a secondary note. So the person who is, if I am the teacher and I am making a recommendation or I'm putting something in, and I then, let's say, another person goes in and says, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do. I think that's right. But I also think this needs to be added too. They shouldn't be going to that note. They should be creating their own note. So it timestamps and makes that other person accountable. So that way you see a live thread of constant feed. So if that's not a policy, if that's not a procedure that's already written, then we need to make sure we create something and that it's district-wide. So that way documentation and information is not being removed, modified, or altered. Just maybe somebody doesn't like what it's been said, but if that's what needs to be there in order to show what is happening within that certain case of that certain child, then we need to make sure we do something. We have to protect ourselves, and we also need to protect our teachers because they're writing things in there not just because they felt like doing it. There were reasons behind it. So let's make sure that that information either gets locked or somebody else, next policy is write another note. I mean, that's what we do at the state. It's a lot, it's constantly, I wrote something in, oh, I didn't mean to write that. Previous note, please disregard, as it was written in error. Like, it's just something that it needs to be either learned or done. All right, my turn. VP Pizzotti, Mr. Kobe. I will say the first time I met you, sir, and was on the football field, and you came up to me and you asked me about being a trustee, and I'm going to be very frank. I had no idea who you were. And I was like, okay, I don't know who this guy is, and he's coming up to me and he's talking to me, and I'm like, and I remember saying, are you running too? And you looked at me like, nah, girl, I'm on the board. And I was like, oh, my bad. But I didn't know, and that's also because the board always seemed like a very high up and untouchable. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to go there because if they know me, then they're going to see me, and I don't want them to see me. I want to be under the radar. So for you to come up to me and I was like, oh, he's on the school board. I was like, oh, if I don't win, he's going to know who I am. And I don't know if I want that just because I didn't know. But now I realize by being on the board, we're all just people. We're all doing what we can to make our community better for everybody here. We do everything we do with the best intentions from our own lived experience. And I want to thank you for being so patient with me. And I know I'm a little eclectic, I guess. But you have been able to be vulnerable with me, and in many ways, and showing me certain things. And typically, people think vulnerability is a sign of weakness. But in reality, to be vulnerable is a sign of strength, because you have to have the courage to be able to have the courage to be vulnerable, because not everybody can do that. And I want to thank you for being up here and being vulnerable in so many different ways, allowing others to see you for who you are, and to accept that whatever comes, you do it with your heart on your sleeve. And although I've only worked with you for 2 years, it feels like a really long time. And so with that being said, I thank you for your service. I thank you for the time we have spent together here. Although I won't be seeing you every other Thursday, I know I'll be seeing you on the streets. And please don't ever be a stranger. I am always a phone call away, and I'm always, I'm always available, except on Thursdays, every other Thursdays between 5:30 and God knows what time it ends. So, but other than that, I thank you for everything that you've done. And I know you will continue to be a service to the community, even though you're not on the diocese. So thank you very much. You're welcome. All righty. It is not over yet. Well, we got lots of cider, huh? Okay. We have lots of cider. And listen, we got lots of cider for y'all too. So on that, because we're not done, we have future board agenda items. We have our annual organization meeting to be scheduled on December 17th. And we have our governing board budget study session that will be scheduled in February of 2025. And we're also going to be working on our... You gotta go. We got you too. Too late. We've already been served. That's not the kind of drinking. You're so unfun. And then we also have our board governance workshop. Unfortunately, we will not be adjourning as we have to return to closed session. But we thank you all. Please come and partake in our wonderful goodness. And on that note, it is adjourned.
I would like a demographer.
You would like a demographer?
Update. Yeah, maybe.
What?
You want a demographer, future board agenda item?
Oh, sorry, I missed that. I don't have one, but that's okay. Yay!
Clink. Clink. Thank you so much. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.